Chapter 30-36. Oh. You are an earthly sovereign. Are you going to be so shameless as to attack a junior? Yi Shang asked fearlessly in the face of Moon Feather earthly supremacy. He knew that no one in the realm of the gods behind him could fight against an earthly sovereign. He could only rely on himself. While he was questioning you earthly sovereign, Night Sorrow sent a message to Little Seven and the restriction-breaking hammer. Little Seven and the restriction-breaking hammer, let's get ready to escape. Both of you cooperate well later. As for the white jade, it was used to nourish the mind, so he did not take it into consideration. Yes. Okay. The restriction-breaking hammer and Little Seven replied at the same time. While Night Sorrow, the restriction-breaking hammer, and Little Seven were planning their escape, a sinister smile appeared on you earthly sovereign's face. Moon Feather earthly sovereign smiled viciously and said, "We have already shed all pretense of cordiality with the god world. This time won't make a difference. Junior, prepare to die." After saying this, you earthly sovereign flew into the air and shot a beam of energy at Night Sorrow. This beam of energy was not used to attack Night Sorrow, but to bind him. After the energy was shot, Night Sorrow immediately shouted, "Little Seven, take me away." Okay. When Little Seven heard this, he immediately put Night Sorrow and the restriction-breaking hammer into the tower. He was preparing to escape. Hee hee. You want to escape in front of me? If I did not have a way to restrain you, I would have set up an array. You earthly sovereign saw that Little Seven was about to escape with Night Sorrow. She immediately took out a cobweb-like magical artifact from her space device. After this magical artifact was thrown out, it immediately enveloped Little Seven. It slowly tightened and wrapped around him. This is an earthly sovereign artifact. He has an earthly sovereign artifact on him. Little Seven, who was trapped, immediately shouted. Generally speaking, earthly sovereign artifacts were very rare. Who would have thought that you would have one on her? Moreover, it was such a huge net that could cover the sky. Restriction-breaking hammers, it's time for you to attack. Yi Shan did not panic when he was trapped by the net that covered the sky. Instead, he commanded the restriction-breaking hammer to try and break free. Let's try. However, the chances of breaking through were not high. After all, this is an earthly sovereign artifact, and we are no longer at our peak strength. The male hammer said as it cooperated with the female hammer and attacked the moonlight eclipse net of moonlight earthly sovereign. After being attacked by them, the moonlight shrouding net immediately began to shrink even more violently. It looked like it was going to crush the small pagoda. Moonfeather earthly sovereign laughed and said, "Night Sorrow, oh Night Sorrow. Your strength isn't much, but the treasures you have on you are quite a few. It's exactly what I want. In the future, on this day every year, I will have my disciples burn some paper money for you. Don't worry, even if I die today. Even if I die today, I will make all the artifacts on me explode and leave nothing for you." Night Sorrow roared as he cooperated with the restriction-breaking hammer and Little Seven to attack the moonlight shrouding net. Under their continuous attacks, the moonlight shrouding net could not hold on any longer. Indeed, they are all good stuff. Haha. Especially this pair of hammers. They are not earthly sovereign artifacts, but they can break some of the seals on them. Seeing that Night Sorrow was about to cooperate with Little Seven and the restriction-breaking hammer to break the moonlight shrouding net suppression, moonlight shrouding net was about to break free. Moonfeather earthly sovereign nodded her head in satisfaction. Then, she immediately attacked and cooperated with the moonlight shrouding net to completely suppress Little Seven. Lord Moonfeather. These restriction-breaking hammers belong to the Burning Sky territory. Please return them to the Burning Sky territory after you get them. Night Sorrow could not escape from Moonfeather earthly sovereign. The Burning Sky territory's sovereign, Fenyuha, immediately spoke. He wanted the restriction-breaking hammers back. Hearing this, Moonfeather earthly sovereign sneered and said, "These hammers belong to the Burning Sky territory, but Night Sorrow got them and made them recognize him as their master. They belong to Night Sorrow. Now, they belong to me. What does this have to do with the Burning Sky territory? This. Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign, please consider the harmonious relationship between our territories. Fenyuha of the Burning Sky territory continued. The Burning Sky territory's strength was slightly weaker than the Moon Shadow territories, but not by much. Therefore, he was not very afraid of Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign. If you spout any more nonsense, I will kill you. After Fenyuha finished speaking, Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign sneered and said with a murderous aura. After being ridiculed like this, Fenyuha could not say anything no matter how much he had in his heart. At this moment, he thought for a moment and looked at Feng Wuji. Wuji Earthly Sovereign, please help the Burning Sky territory. Oh. Help the Burning Sky territory? On what basis? Feng Wuji, who had not spoken or made any movements, immediately asked with a smile when he heard Fenyuha's words. This. My Burning Sky territory is willing to give the restriction-breaking hammer to you. Fenyuha thought for a moment and said. Fenyuha. Do you take me for a fool? Using me as a spear? Just based on what you said, you no longer have the right to continue living. A cold smile appeared on Feng Wuji's face. He directly attacked and killed Fenyuha with a palm. At the same time, the murderous aura on his body rose. He looked at Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign and said, Moonfeather, you are looking down on me too much. Haha. Brother Wuji, what do you mean by that? My Moon Shadow territory and Night Sorrow are mortal enemies. Isn't it normal for me to attack him? Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign looked at Feng Wuji with a cold expression. He had an Earthly Sovereign artifact in his hand, so he was not too afraid of Feng Wuji. Therefore, he did not inform Feng Wuji when he attacked. If we are talking about enmity, does my 9 profound territory not have enmity with Night Sorrow? Feng Wuji asked coldly. The murderous aura on his body did not decrease, but increased instead. Sensing the dense murderous aura on Feng Wuji, Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign coldly asked, Haha. Feng Wuji, have you decided to shed all pretense of cordiality with me? Have you come to fight for Night Sorrow's treasures? When they had just arrived, Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign had still given Feng Wuji some face. Now, they had completely shed all pretense of cordiality. At this moment, Feng Wuji swept his gaze across the crowd and said, Those who have nothing to do with this, please leave. When he said this, those who were watching did not dare to stay any longer. Everyone knew that Feng Wuji was going to start a war with Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign. If the 2 earthly sovereigns were to fight, the consequences would be unimaginable. Therefore, no one dared to stay any longer. One after another, they left using the teleportation array. They returned to their territories and reported to their superiors. Feng Wuji, don't think that you are invincible just because you are from the 4 great saint lands. Today, I will kill you. Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign looked viciously at Feng Wuji and threw out a punch at him. This punch was completely different from the one that had tied up Night Sorrow. The rules and power that it contained were extremely terrifying. Clan. Chapter 30-37. After witnessing Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign's move, Night Sorrow realized the gap between him and an Earthly Sovereign. At the same time, he ordered Little Seven and the restriction-breaking hammer to think of a way to break the array. They wanted to take advantage of the battle between Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign and Feng Wuji to find a way to escape. The moonlight shrouding net had lost the direct control of Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign and its power was obviously weaker. However, in the next moment, something happened that made Night Sorrow completely dumbfounded. After Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign had made a probing attack, Feng Wuji, who had suddenly struck out, had turned Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign into nothingness. In an instant, the moonlight shrouding net had completely lost control. Damn! He killed an Earthly Sovereign with one move. This is a ruthless person. He is definitely not an Earthly Sovereign. When the moonlight shrouding net had lost control, Little Seven immediately realized that Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign's spiritual soul had been destroyed. The elites of the 4 great sanctuaries are indeed incomparable to ordinary territories. Seeing that Feng Wuji had killed Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign with one move, Night Sorrow suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. In the hands of Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign, they could not escape. In the face of such a powerful Feng Wuji, there was even less of a chance. Master, what should we do? Should we really self-destruct? Why don't we seek refuge with this elite? Bai Yu, who had been silent all this while, immediately tried to persuade Night Sorrow when she saw how powerful Feng Wuji was. I don't think you should be called Bai Yu. You should be called Nephrite. Hearing Bai Yu's words, Little Seven immediately said with disdain. Hee, Nephrite is a good name. At this moment, Feng Wuji, who had already retracted his murderous aura, smiled. As for Yi Shang, he saw a trace of complicated emotions in Feng Wuji's eyes. Oh. What's going on? Night Sorrow remembered that Feng Wuji had started to target him when the Battle of Providence had just begun. He did not know why he had such a complicated look in his eyes now. Night Sorrow. Come out and talk. Feng Wuji looked at Little Seven and said. What are you trying to say? Night Sorrow asked coldly after coming out of the pagoda. Facing such a powerful Feng Wuji, he would not be able to escape no matter what. He no longer had any thoughts of escaping. Now, he was thinking about how to let Little Seven, White Jade, and the restriction-breaking hammer escape. He did not want them to self-destruct, but he also did not want them to fall into Feng Wuji's hands. What I want to say is that you don't have to think too much. You don't need to do that when you're facing me. Feng Wuji had an amiable smile on his face. This kind of smile was different from the cold indifference he showed to others. Seeing the friendly smile on Feng Wuji's face, Night Sorrow was puzzled. He had no idea why Feng Wuji, who had a grudge against the Firmament territory, would treat him in such a manner. At this time, Feng Wuji smiled and said, Next, I will tell you a secret, but you cannot tell anyone about it, including the people of the God Realm's territory. Alright, go ahead. Yi Shang was at a complete loss. He didn't know what Feng Wuji was trying to do, so he could only reply in agreement. Back then, I was ambushed by a spy from the Firmament territory in the Supreme Space and was poisoned by a strange poison that was difficult to cure. Then, I was surrounded by dozens of Supremes. At that time, there were at least 800 Supremes, if not 1,000. However, I did not die. Instead, I successfully possessed Feng Wuji in the chaotic battle. At this point, you should know who I am, right? After Feng Wuji finished speaking, his face immediately changed into a scholarly look. Night Sorrow took a closer look, and his eyes instantly moistened. The person in front of him was none other than Supreme Longevity. Senior Longevity. I didn't expect you to survive and possess Feng Wuji. After Supreme Longevity recovered his appearance, he also completely recovered his original aura. This aura was exactly the same as the image that the Horned Supreme summoned. Sigh. If not for that battle back then, I might not have been stuck at the Sky Supreme level for the rest of my life. Feng Wuji's body is not talented enough. It can't advance any further. Supreme Longevity sighed and continued, the future of the firmament and the eternal supreme world still rests on your shoulders. I lost the chance to advance to the supreme realm, but you have it. Senior, you flatter me. Night Sorrow said humbly. Then, he asked, Senior Changsheng, is there no other way? Can you take over someone else's body? I can possess someone else, but I can't find a suitable body at the moment. There are simply too few bodies in the world that can advance to the supreme realm. Even among the 4 sacred grounds, it's hard to find one. You're the only one in all these years. Supreme Longevity sighed. Mu Tianya's body can't do it either? He should be from the fog region. Night Sorrow asked curiously. Mu Tianai was ultimately a ticking time bomb. He would not be happy if he did not get rid of him. You mean him? He's just trash. At most, he can advance to the Earth Supreme level. Supreme Longevity pulled Mu Tianai out of the space grotto. Before the battle with you earthly sovereign, Sovereign Changsheng had dispersed the crowd. However, he had secretly taken control of Mu Tianai and did not give him a chance to escape. The moment he was thrown to the ground, Mu Tianai looked at Supreme Longevity and said, "Supreme Longevity, I didn't expect you to be so scheming. You've been hiding under the identity of Feng Wuji. Many territories have attacked the firmament territory, but you didn't help at all. You evil spirit, do you really think that you're from Tianshao territory? Know your place. You're just an evil spirit from the fog region. Who are you to meddle in the affairs of the firmament territory?" Supreme Changsheng said disdainfully before crushing Mu Tianai into pieces. Then, he threw the space grotto to Night Sorrow and said, "All these years, I've been helping the firmament territory secretly, but I've never shown myself. Because there are spies in the firmament territory, and there's more than one. When you return to the firmament territory in the future, you must be careful. Now, I can confirm that the spy is the governor of the firmament city. But I've already killed him." "What? The governor of the firmament city is a spy?" Hearing this, Night Sorrow was shocked. So the governor had already been killed. No wonder no one could find him. Don't be surprised. My judgment won't be wrong. He was the one who poisoned me back then. If not for him, no one else could have poisoned me so easily. Supreme Longevity said with a sigh. The governor of the firmament territory was the deputy governor of the firmament territory. He was also Supreme Longevity's most trusted person. It was also him who poisoned Supreme Longevity. However, after he poisoned Supreme Longevity, he did not steal Supreme Longevity's body's laws and essence. He did not advance to the Earth's supreme level. Under his leadership, the firmament territory gradually declined to the state it was today. Genius memorized this site's address. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3038. Senior Longevity. The two Vice City Lords of the God World are also missing. They said they went to look for the City Lords. Are they also? Night Sorrow asked. He didn't finish his sentence. They aren't traitors, but they are juniors. They don't know what happened back then. However, they are trapped in a secret realm in the supreme space. Their situation isn't good. They need you to rescue them. Supreme Longevity said slowly after hearing Night Sorrow's words. Oh. Where are the two Vice City Lords trapped? Night Sorrow asked curiously. Now that the God World had lost its backbone, Supreme Longevity shouldn't be exposed even though he had appeared. Night Sorrow felt that if he could rescue the two Vice City Lords, the God World's strength would definitely increase. In addition, the God World had won the battle for Providence. They didn't have to worry about Providence for the time being. If they didn't go to a public place like the Supreme Space, they could rest and recuperate for many years. The secret realm they are trapped in is called the Big and Small Grotto Heavens. It's a chain trap array. However, there are good opportunities inside. If you can get the resources inside, you should be able to break through to the supreme level. Supreme Longevity continued, however, their lives aren't in danger now. Let's think about other things first. Senior Longevity, please speak. Night Sorrow looked at him. Towards someone like Longxing Supreme who had made great contributions to the divine realm, he held reverence in his heart. This had nothing to do with cultivation. It was about feelings. Night Sorrow felt that. Being a person. Or rather, as a cultivator, feelings for the country were very important. And Longxing Supreme was clearly someone who could take on such responsibilities. If it wasn't for the accident back then, he would have led the God World to stand at the peak of the eternal supreme world. No need to be so serious. Although we are from different eras, we should still be friends. Supreme Longevity smiled and said, next, I will impart to you a few mystiques. Mystiques? Night Sorrow looked at him in confusion. The Supreme Longevity explained, mystiques are the inherited secret techniques of each territory. What I'm going to impart to you is the God World's inherited secret technique, God's Finger. as well as the 9 mystical territories inherited secret skill, mysterious sky secret shadow. Arcane shadows was the best movement technique in the eternal sovereign world. As for the divine finger, it is the secret skill with the strongest attack power. Inherited secret technique? So the God Realm's inherited secret techniques haven't been lost? Yi Shan said in shock. He didn't expect the supreme longevity to know the secret technique of the divine world's territory, and even control the secret technique of the 9 mystical territories. I'm probably one of the people who know the secret techniques of the God Realm. There will be another you in the future. As for the mysterious sky shadow, don't use it unless it's a life-saving situation. After Changxing said that, he extended a finger and tapped Night Sorrow's forehead. In an instant, 2 sparkling and translucent runes appeared in Yi Shang's mind. After absorbing these 2 runes, Night Sorrow didn't even need to comprehend them. He directly learned the God's finger and mysterious sky secret shadow that supreme longevity had imparted to him. These 2 mystiques are indeed amazing. After Night Sorrow learned these 2 mystiques, his movement technique and attack power improved tremendously. If you are smart enough, you can combine these 2 mystiques to create a new ultimate technique. Then, you can use it as you wish. Supreme Longevity added, as a matter of fact, there are over 10,000 realms in the eternal supreme world. Legend has it that if you can combine the mystiques of tens of thousands of territories, it will become the strongest technique in the world. However, how can it be possible to obtain the mystiques of tens of thousands of territories? Combining the mystiques of tens of thousands of territories, this is indeed something that I don't even dare to think about. Night Sorrow smiled, but his heart was shaken. Yes. Only by combining tens of thousands of Daos can one become the strongest. Supreme Longevity finished and sighed. If the territories of the eternal sovereign world can put aside their selfishness and contribute all their mystiques, perhaps when the great calamity comes, our eternal sovereign world will have a chance. However, there will always be black sheep in the world. Defecting to the enemy or being selfish. This idea is an impossible dream. Yes. Although I haven't been in the eternal sovereign world for long, I can see that this place is definitely not a monolithic block. When the great calamity comes, who knows what will happen? Night Sorrow agreed. From the battle for Providence, he realized that most of the territories in the eternal sovereign world had evil intentions. When it comes to the great calamity, the eternal sovereign world can only rely on its looks. As for you, you are a variable. You have the potential to reach the supreme realm, but time is a problem. Supreme Longevity said. Then, he continued, although I am not sure of the exact time, that day is not too far away. What you need to do now is to quickly increase your strength and lead the territories in the God world to increase their strength. If the eternal sovereign world cannot save them, we will think of a way to save the God world. All right. In that case, Senior Longevity, I will first return to the God world to take a look. After that, I will rescue the 2 Vice City Lords and strive to become a supreme while rescuing them. Night Sorrow cupped his fists at Supreme Longevity and prepared to head to the teleportation portal. At this moment, Supreme Longevity said, if you want to increase your strength quickly, the fog is a good place. The white jade on you can help you to calm your mind and ensure that you will not be affected by the normal fog. Alright. After rescuing the 2 Vice City Lords, I will go to the fog to cultivate. Night Sorrow nodded at Supreme Longevity and flew to the teleportation portal. He looked at the other party and asked, Senior Longevity, if I take these rewards away, won't I expose your identity? No worries. I have a solution. Supreme Longevity Immortal smiled and turned back into Feng Wuji, disappearing from the world. Strong. Really strong. He should be one of the best among the Sky Supremes. It's just that he did not have the chance to reach the Supreme Realm. What a pity. After Supreme Longevity transformed into Feng Wuji and left, Little Seven could not help but sigh. When Supreme Longevity was around, it was suppressed to the point that it did not dare to speak. Bai Yu was the same. After Supreme Longevity left, he exclaimed, I can't believe I have such a use. I can be used to resist the fog. Originally, Baiyu thought that he was just a useless piece of jade that could only be used to cultivate his mind. Now, he was very surprised. He felt that he had become a useful piece of jade. No one can be compared to your effectiveness. I will have to rely on you when I go to the fog in the future. Otherwise, I might be affected by the fog too. I might turn into a bloodthirsty monster. Night Sorrow said to Baiyu, then activated the teleportation portal and returned to the God world. Clan M. Chapter 30-39. Night Sorrow stepped out of the teleportation circle and appeared in the teleportation circle of Peace City. There was no one around the teleportation circle. Night Sorrow used his divine soul to check and found that there were no cultivators in Peace City except for some guards. He then used his divine soul to check and found that Prime Golden Crow was still sitting at the gate of Peace City. Therefore, Yi Shang flew towards the gate of Ping An City. Prime Golden Crow. Where are the people in Peace City? Yi Shang asked doubtfully after arriving beside the Golden Crow Paragon. He. They have all returned to the realm of the gods to celebrate. Our realm of the gods has won the battle of Providence. This is great news and worth celebrating. Prime Golden Crow waited for Night Sorrow to speak before he looked at him and said with a smile. I see. That's good to hear. Night Sorrow was relieved when he heard this. He thought that something had happened to the realm of the gods. Night Sorrow. This time, the realm of the gods has resolved the crisis and achieved such a good result. You have contributed greatly. I thank you on behalf of everyone in the realm of the gods. While saying this, the Golden Crow stood up from the ground and prepared to bow. Night Sorrow quickly stopped him. Senior Golden Crow, please don't do this. This is what Night Sorrow should do. I can't accept your great gift. Of course. If it weren't for you, the providence of our realm of the gods would have been depleted. By then, we would have become the prey of the other territories. Prime Golden Crow sighed and continued, everyone is celebrating. You should go back to the realm of the gods. After all, you are the main character. Senior Golden Crow, now that the providence of our realm of the gods has increased by so much, the other territories wouldn't dare to invade us. Why don't you go back and celebrate with everyone? Night Sorrow invited. He had to go back. At the very least, he had to see his wife Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei. He had to figure out what had happened between the two of them. I won't go back. You can go back and celebrate. I will continue to stand guard here for everyone. After saying that, the Golden Crow sat on the ground again and closed his eyes to rest. Then I'll take my leave. Night Sorrow said as he looked at the back of the Golden Crow. He then flew towards the celestial realm from Peace City. Along the way, he did not meet any cultivators. It was clear that most of the cultivators in the Divine World were gathered in the Divine World cities. As expected. When Night Sorrow flew back to the outskirts of the Divine World city, he used his divine sense to investigate and found that it was indeed the case. At this time, 2 large red lanterns were hung high above the city gate, looking very festive. As for the city, there were cheers and laughter everywhere. This was something that had never happened in the Divine World city for tens of thousands of years. Seeing everyone's smiles, Night Sorrow suddenly felt that everything he had done was worth it. However, when he thought of the few Lemmeter creatures in the foggy area, his fighting spirit rose once again. He thought to himself, no matter what, I have to protect the Divine World and my family and friends. Night Sorrow did not have deep feelings for the Eternal Supreme World. However, the Divine World and its territories were too important to him. The degree of importance could be compared to his life. I feel that your friends aren't very loyal to their friends. You narrowly escaped death and they actually came back to celebrate like this. At this time, Little Seven said unhappily. Everyone should be happy and celebrate after winning the championship. Besides, this is definitely not their idea. Yi Shang smiled and used the power of his divine soul to sweep towards the City Lord's mansion. At this time, in the City Lord mansion, some of the important supremes of the Divine World territory were present. Shao Tianxian, Myriad Sword Sect, and others were also present. Many of the supremes were in a good mood. Especially the White Tiger, who kept saying something. However, Shao Tianxian, Myriad Sword Sect, Wu Lingfei, and others did not look too good. Knight Sorrow glanced and realized that they should be unhappy because of his matter. He transmitted his voice to Little Seven and said, "Look at you, gauging the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. All right. They are quite loyal." Little Seven also glanced and said faintly. It had the strength of an Earth Supreme. Even the Supremes of the Divine World territory did not sense it. However, when Knight Sorrow was probing the City Lord mansion, he was sensed by Supreme Ancestor Phoenix. When Supreme Ancestor Phoenix sensed this aura, he immediately flew out of the City Lord mansion. Good. 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 Seeing that it was Knight Sorrow standing outside the City Lord mansion, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix said 3 good words in a row. Then, he said excitedly, "Knight Sorrow. I am so happy that you can come back. Without you, this celebration ceremony would have no meaning at all. Follow me in." "All right." Knight Sorrow replied and did not refuse. In front of him was some rare time as a cultivator. After resting for a while, he would once again embark on his journey. After all, the 2 deputy city lords were still trapped in the big and small grotto heavens. And in the supreme space, there were many other supremes of the other territories who had sealed the Divine World territory. It was not easy to break through their blockade. Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow, you're back. It's really you, that's great. When Knight Sorrow followed Supreme Ancestor Phoenix into the City Lord mansion, Myriad Sword Sect was the first to stand up. Wu Lingfei, who originally had a gloomy expression, suddenly burst into tears. Hee hee. Hello everyone. I've returned safely. Knight Sorrow smiled and greeted everyone, then walked to Wu Lingfei's side and sat down. For a moment, Shao Tianxian, Myriad Sword Sect, Murong Jinlu, and the others all became energetic and began to chat with him. What everyone asked was basically how Knight Sorrow managed to survive and return. And Knight Sorrow naturally would not reveal that Supreme Longevity had possessed Feng Wuji, so he casually made up a story. He said that Feng Wuji and Supreme Moonfeather's battle was too intense. In the situation where they were locked in battle, he used the restriction-breaking hammer to break the seal and successfully escaped through the teleportation array. Everyone who could not think of any other possibility naturally believed it. Then, under the auspices of Supreme Ancestor Phoenix, everyone began to enjoy a celebratory feast. When the celebratory feast was over, Wu Lingfei looked at Knight Sorrow and said, "Go and see Jingyun. She heard that you didn't return and became depressed. She locked herself in the house and refused to come out." "All right. I'll go and see her, then we'll settle the matter between us," Yi Shang said as he walked towards the courtyard where Jingyun was. Before they even arrived, he had already used the power of his divine sense to scan them. With this scan, he was instantly enraged. At this moment, Jingyun was sitting in the house with a gloomy expression. In her courtyard, there was a black shadow that was preparing to launch a sneak attack on her. Genius memorized this address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 30-40. Moreover, this black figure clearly had the aura of a supreme martial artist. If not for Knight Sorrow's arrival, Jingyun would have been killed. To attack Knight Sorrow's family in the realm of gods, needless to say, this supreme martial artist must have been bribed by people from other territories. While Knight Sorrow was furious, he was not willing to give him a chance to attack. He immediately used the divine finger on him. This was a divine ability that he had just learned from the Supreme Longevity. With a point of his finger, a pale blue light pillar immediately blasted out. "Who's there?" The black-clothed Supreme Martial Artist, who was about to attack Jingyun, immediately frowned as he noticed Knight Sorrow's attack. However, just as he was about to counterattack, his dantian was directly shattered by this finger. "Who's there? I should be the one asking you these 3 words." Knight Sorrow's attack succeeded and did not give the other party any chance to escape or even self-destruct. He immediately sealed his soul and broke his disguise. After breaking his disguise, Knight Sorrow's heart skipped a beat. The black-clothed supreme martial artist in front of him was actually the Silver Spear Supremacy, Yang Tiancheng. "Tell me, why did you attack my family?" Before the fight for Providence, the Silver Spear Supremacy, Yang Tiancheng, had taught Knight Sorrow the Yang's heaven-splitting art. This move had helped Knight Sorrow many times in the future battles. For a moment, Knight Sorrow could not accept it. Winner takes all, what's there to say? Yang Tiancheng, whose dantian had been destroyed, revealed a cold smile on his face. There was no longer the fierce and peaceful look on his face. It was completely occupied by ruthlessness. "What's going on?" "Husband, you're back." At this moment, Jing Yun, who had been startled by the sound, came back to her senses and walked out of the room. Seeing Knight Sorrow return, she immediately burst into tears like Wu Lingfei. "Jing Yun. We'll talk about our matters later. This person in front of you wanted to launch a sneak attack on you just now. We have to interrogate him clearly." Knight Sorrow said coldly. "Senior Silver Spear Supremacy, Yang Tiancheng? How is this possible?" When Jing Yun saw that the black-clothed man was Yang Tiancheng, a look of disbelief appeared on her face. "Nothing is impossible. If I hadn't arrived in time, you might have already been killed," Knight Sorrow said with lingering fear. When she heard this, Jing Yun frowned and said, "Why don't we hand him over to Exalt Zhu Feng and the others for interrogation? I'm afraid it's not appropriate for us to interrogate him alone." "All right." Knight Sorrow replied and transmitted his voice to Supreme Ancestor Phoenix. When Paragon Ancestor Phoenix arrived and saw what was happening, she immediately transmitted a message to the other paragons in the God world. When these supreme beings arrived, they couldn't believe their eyes. No one believed that the Silver Spear Paragon, Yang Tiancheng, would do such a thing. However, Knight Sorrow cultivated the power of virtue and never spoke nonsense. Naturally, they would not doubt Knight Sorrow. "Everyone, bring him back to the City Lord Mansion for interrogation." When the numerous supreme beings arrived, Supreme Being Zhu Feng immediately gave the order to bring Yang Tiancheng back to the City Lord's mansion. Then, she and the other supreme beings began to interrogate him. During the process of interrogating Yang Tiancheng, Knight Sorrow did not participate. After going through a series of battles, he was a little tired. That night, he talked to Jing Yun for a while before resting with her. The next morning, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix came to look for Knight Sorrow. He told her the whole story. It turned out that the Silver Spear Paragon, Yang Tiancheng, had already defected to a subordinate territory of the Moon's Shadow Territory. He had received the order to kill Knight Sorrow's family. After saying this, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix asked, "Knight Sorrow, how do you think we should deal with him? Kill him directly or what?" Senior Ancestor Phoenix, just make the arrangements. However, since such a thing happened in the God world, we must be more vigilant in the future. After saying this, Knight Sorrow asked, "By the way, Senior Ancestor Phoenix, how is the matter in the Supreme Space? Are there people from other territories waiting for us?" Such a thing happening in the main city of the God world gave him a very bad feeling. Knight Sorrow wanted to quickly rescue the 2 deputy city lords and return to take charge of the situation. Sigh. Don't mention it. A few days ago, we sent people to investigate. As soon as they entered the Supreme Space, they were killed by people from other territories. They've gone too far. Supreme Ancestor Phoenix said with a gloomy face. Senior Ancestor Phoenix, how many supreme beings are there and how strong they are? Knight Sorrow continued to ask in detail. I'm not sure about their specific strength. There are about 20 to 30 of them. They are scattered outside the passage of our God world territory. If many of us enter, they will immediately gather a large number of Supreme Beings, making it impossible for us to go in. Supreme Ancestor Phoenix sighed. Now in the God World territory, the strength of the sovereigns had increased qualitatively. Other than Night Sorrow, everyone who participated in the battle for Providence had advanced to the half-step Supreme Being level. This was something unimaginable in the past. Senior Ancestor Phoenix, I'm clear about the matter. You have worked hard. Night Sorrow said and sent Supreme Ancestor Phoenix away. Then, he gathered everyone who participated in the battle for Providence in Jing Yun's small courtyard. After setting up the defense, he said, I'm sure you all are clear about what happened to Jing Yun. Now in the God World territory, I'm afraid there aren't many people who can be trusted. I can only trust you all. In a few days, I will enter the Supreme Space to investigate. But I don't feel at ease asking other Supreme Beings to come with me. Who among you is willing to take the risk with me? Everyone in front of him had gone through life and death together. Night Sorrow trusted them. I'm willing. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Myriad Sword Sect was the first to answer. He didn't have any consideration, so he answered faster than anyone else. After Myriad Sword Sect finished speaking, Xiao Tianxian also responded, Of course I'm willing. At this time, Murong Zhenlu said with a smile, Haha, Night Sorrow, you should be the one who's unwilling, right? We are all brothers who have gone through life and death together. Naturally, we will enjoy blessings and endure hardships together. That's right, we are all willing to fight side by side with you. Yuan Fengxue also nodded. Her statement was quickly affirmed by the others. Seeing that everyone had agreed, Night Sorrow said in a good mood, Then let's completely form a gold team. Let's stand side by side. However, if a worker wants to do a good job, he must first sharpen his tools. It's time for me to distribute the champion's reward to everyone. No, you were the one who fought for the championship. You keep it to break through to the Supreme Realm. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Jin Xian immediately retorted. Like Jin Xian, the others were not willing to accept the gift. After all, Night Sorrow had chosen to let them recover their strength in front of Yan Hengshi, and everyone had already taken advantage of it once. Without you, I wouldn't have been able to get this championship. Everyone should share it together. As for me advancing to the Supreme Realm, it should be in the Supreme Space. Night Sorrow recalled what the Supreme Longevity had said and guessed that he should be able to advance to the Supreme Realm in the big and small grotto heavens. Clan M. Chapter 3041. At this time, Xiao Tianxian said, How about this? Jing Yun's strength is relatively weak. Let her absorb these resources and strive to advance to half-step Supreme Being. Strive to catch up to us and advance in the grotto heavens together. Yes. That's fine. It's already a pity that she didn't participate in the War of Providence. This time, we must make up for this regret. Let's go together. Hearing Xiao Tianxuan's words, Yuan Fengxue immediately agreed. At this time, she stood together with Wu Lingfei and Jing Yun. Not good. This is not good. I didn't do anything. I can't enjoy the rewards alone. Jing Yun embarrassedly declined. No need to be embarrassed. Our strength has reached a bottleneck. Relying on these rewards alone, we can't advance to Supreme Being. You can use these resources to cultivate at ease. Seeing that Jing Yun was unwilling to accept the resources, Wu Lingfei immediately persuaded. Then, Murong Zhenlu and the others also persuaded her. In the end, Jing Yun accepted the Supreme Being and Earth Supreme Being's law and essence. Night Sorrow, when are we leaving? After Jing Yun accepted the things and began cultivating, Myriad Sword Sect asked with interest. No hurry. We just returned. Someone must be watching us. Currently, there must be a traitor in the realm of the gods. We need to wait for the other party to lower their vigilance before leaving. Night Sorrow said and continued, we need to create the illusion that everyone is trying to advance to Supreme Being. Then, sneak into the Supreme Being space. What we need now is the map of the Supreme Being space. Otherwise, we will be very blind when we enter. Leave the map to me. I can handle it. My grandfather definitely has it. Jin Xian said and continued, do you want me to go get it now? Go. I'm not suitable to go with you. Brother Wan will go with you. However, you don't just need to get the map. You also need to set up a few teleportation formations in the hunting area. Night Sorrow looked at Jin Xian and said. Then, Jin Xian and Myriad Sword Sect went to Peace City together. According to Night Sorrow's instructions, they set up the teleportation formations. The teleportation formations were naturally used by Night Sorrow to shake off some supreme beings. After the two of them left, Jing Yun entered a state of cultivation. As for the champion's reward that Night Sorrow had brought back, to a lesser dominator, it was simply heaven-defying. After absorbing for more than a month, she had directly advanced to the middle-level dominator rank. This speed of improvement didn't seem like something a sovereign could achieve. It was precisely because her strength had increased too quickly that Jing Yun's state of mind was somewhat affected, and she did not dare to continue cultivating like this. At this rate, she should be able to reach half Martial Highness in less than 3 years. This cultivation speed was like that of a low-level cultivator who had just started cultivating. This wasn't something a ruler should have. After Jing Yun told Night Sorrow about her state of mind, Night Sorrow smiled and said, you don't have to feel burdened. Look at how many years we've been participating in the Battle of Providence. I've already advanced from the Divine King to a half-step supreme. Although you've improved a lot after we left, the gap is still very obvious. Therefore, it shouldn't be a problem for me to quickly increase my strength. Is that so? In the divine world, anyone who could advance to the dominator rank within a few epochs was a top genius. At the Eternal Supreme level, with the support of large amounts of resources, the speed of advancing to the dominator rank was more than 1,000,000 times faster. At this time, Jing Yun was still somewhat confused and felt that everything was too dreamy. Jing Yun. It's like this in the Eternal Supreme world. If you can't keep up with the pace, you'll be eliminated. The speed of improvement here is faster than in the divine world because this world is more advanced and more cruel. After Night Sorrow said this, he continued, to tell you the truth, it won't be long before the Eternal Supreme world welcomes a terrifying calamity. Do you know how strong our opponents are? Not Supremes, not Earth Supremes, not Sky Supremes, but Ultimate Supreme. Imagine how big the difference is. If we don't quickly increase our strength, how can we fight against them? Night Sorrow. Is what you said true? Hearing this, Xiao Tianxian and the others all became solemn. This was no ordinary matter. Every word is true, and the source is very reliable. The enemies we are about to face are from the same era as Yan Hengshi. Moreover, in the last great calamity, he had killed Yan Hengshi and severely injured another senior. Moreover, they killed all the other experts in the Eternal Supreme world and absorbed all their energy. The people in our Eternal Paragon realm are all newly matured. Night Sorrow said with a solemn expression. The 3 sovereigns in the foggy area were definitely the greatest threat to the Eternal Supreme world. Originally, Night Sorrow didn't want to talk about this matter in detail, but because of Jing Yun's cultivation, he couldn't help but say it. By the time Yi Shang had finished explaining the matter, no one present said a word. They knew the seriousness of this matter. After a long silence, Jing Yun broke the silence and said, I understand. I won't be a burden to everyone anymore. After saying that, Jing Yun returned to the secret chamber to cultivate. A year later, Jing Yun successfully advanced to an intermediate dominator. 2.5 years later, she successfully advanced to an upper dominator. At this time, Jing Yun originally wanted to continue cultivating, but Jin Xian and Myriad Sword Master returned, indicating that the matter had been settled. Thus, Night Sorrow called Jing Yun out of her cultivation state. He said to everyone, this time, we are going to the Grotto Heaven to save the 2 deputy city lords. However, there are traitors in the divine world territory, so we need to do it secretly. Everyone, follow me to the hunting area. Let's get rid of some of the spies. Okay. The others present didn't say much, but they were full of fighting spirit. Then, Night Sorrow led them into the hunting area. The hunting area was a barrier that Supremes couldn't easily attack, but if they just stepped in, it wasn't a big deal. Night Sorrow and the others had just entered when someone followed them. Someone is following us. It should be Supreme Luha. We are fully capable of killing him. But there's no need. We have to create the illusion that we have entered the forbidden area. And use the teleportation array to leave. If our true destination is exposed, there will definitely be many Supremes in the Supreme Space to kill us. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he led everyone into the forbidden area. This time, when he entered the forbidden area again, he felt completely different from the last time. Those golden wild beasts that had been difficult to deal with in the past were no longer a threat in his eyes. However, when he saw the stone coffin in the forbidden area again, he still felt that he couldn't see through it. Because of this, he didn't meet the Supremes who had helped him before. However, the eggs that he had come into contact with had already hatched. After he found them, he gave them some resources. Then, he kept everyone in the grotto heaven, used the concealment rune, and left the forbidden area. Chapter 3042. When Night Sorrow led the group out of the forbidden zone, the supreme beings outside were still monitoring them. Moreover, 3 of them appeared at once. Aren't they afraid of being exposed for spying on us so blatantly? Wan Jianzong, who was hiding in Night Sorrow's space grotto heaven, said unhappily when he saw the supreme beings after Night Sorrow's reminder. Hearing this, Night Sorrow sneered. Do you think it's a good thing to join other territories? They must have made some kind of oath that they must do whatever the other party asks of them. Pitiful people must have something to hate. Wan Jianzong said disdainfully. If the heavenly realm wasn't facing a crisis, they wouldn't have made such a choice. At that time, the heavenly realm was in danger. It's understandable that they joined other territories. Night Sorrow glanced at the 3 supreme beings who didn't notice him and said coldly, it's understandable, but unforgivable. Yes. Absolutely unforgivable. Yuan Fengxue said disdainfully. Most of the cultivators were very righteous. They could not accept the act of betraying their own territory. What's our next step? At this time, Xiao Tianxian asked. Just in case, we'll use the teleportation portal. After a few teleportations, we'll go to the supreme space. Everyone, be careful. When we reach the supreme space, we might encounter the supreme beings of other territories. A battle will be unavoidable. Moreover, the other party should be supreme beings, whose cultivation realm is higher than ours. When we fight, we must ensure our own safety. Night Sorrow said and led the group to use the teleportation portal. They teleported 7 to 8 times in a row. They successfully appeared at the entrance of the supreme space. At this time, there was no one at the entrance of the supreme space. This was normal. After all, the heavenly realm was targeted by other territories. As long as they entered the supreme space, they would be intercepted and killed. This also caused the heavenly realm's territory to not have anyone enter the supreme space for many years. Let's go. After so many years, no one has entered. The supremes of the other territories should have relaxed their guard by now. After all, they still have to cultivate. Seeing that there was no one at the entrance of the supreme space, Xiao Tianxian said. Something's not right. At this moment, Yi Shang's brows furrowed. He discovered that there were several image crystals at the entrance of the sovereign space. Although Night Sorrow had a concealment rune on his body, this kind of image crystal could record the patterns of energy fluctuations. Upon closer inspection, there was definitely someone who had entered. After Night Sorrow told them about the image crystal, Master of 10,000 Swords said, "What's there to be afraid of? By the time they realize that we've been here, everyone will be long gone. It won't delay the rescue. But after being discovered, it will be very difficult for us to come back." Night Sorrow said with a frown. If the hostile forces found out about their entry, they would definitely arrange for many supreme beings to block their way back. Then it would be difficult for the people in front of him to come back. That is a problem. Destroying the crystal won't work either. Yuan Fengshue said with a frown. These few image crystals had become a problem. At this moment, Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to Restriction Breaker and Little Seven. Do you have any ideas? The image crystals set up by the enemy look very simple. But they are made by an Earth Supreme Being, so it won't be so easy to destroy. After observing for a while, Little Seven said. Restriction Breaker's male hammer also said, that's right. It's easy to destroy them, but it's almost impossible to do so without alerting the enemy. Unless they have the strength of a Sky Supreme Being. Forget it. In that case, we'll just go in like this. We'll talk about it when we come back. Maybe when we become Supreme Beings, the Supreme Beings from the other territories will be useless. Indeed, there was no other way. Night Sorrow, who did not want to waste any more time, did not hesitate and directly entered the sovereign space. After entering the sovereign space, Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to everyone. There should be many supreme beings from the enemy territories nearby. There are too many people, so I won't let everyone out for now. All right. You have the best movement technique, the strongest strength, and the eye of the Mirage Dragon. You should hurry. Jin Xian said as he handed the map to Night Sorrow. The big and small grotto heavens are not too far away from us. If nothing unexpected happens, we can reach it in 3 months. Night Sorrow scanned the map with his divine spirit and memorized everything on it. In the sovereign space, he directly flew in that direction. Below them, there were some unknown tall ancient trees. In the ancient trees, there were many sovereign-level ferocious beasts. Some of the ferocious beast kings even had the strength of a supreme being. Night Sorrow used the eye of the Mirage Dragon to observe and found that there were many supreme being spiritual herbs nearby. However, he did not go down to snatch them. For the people of the heavenly realm, if they wanted to further strengthen their foundation, they would have to absorb as many Earth Supreme Being items as possible. Therefore, in Night Sorrow's opinion, although Supreme Being items could be absorbed, they were not necessary. This sovereign space doesn't look that scary. After flying safely for 5 days, Master Wan Jian in the grotto heaven sighed. Yi Shang chuckled and said, that's nothing. According to the map, we won't be able to reach the end of the sovereign space even if we fly for hundreds of years. The area is huge, what we see now is only the tip of the iceberg. Moreover, there are too many supreme beings targeting our heavenly realm, so there are too many ferocious beasts around. Therefore, we didn't encounter any danger after flying for 5 days. That's true. Master Wan Jian transmitted his voice. The others also laughed and chatted. Fellow Taoist, please wait. However, just as they were chatting, a shout suddenly came from not far away. It was the voice of a male cultivator, but it sounded very strange, like the roar of a wild beast. What can I do for you? Night Sorrow turned to look at the other party. It was a cultivator with a human body and a leopard head. His aura indicated that he should be an intermediate supreme being. Oh. Half-step supreme being? You're not even a supreme being, why did you enter the sovereign space? Aren't you afraid of dying here? Seeing that Night Sorrow was only a half-step supreme being, the leopard head supreme being immediately asked doubtfully. He did not immediately show any hostility. I'm afraid, but I want to advance to the supreme being level here. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. Night Sorrow replied and directly took his leave. The other party was most likely an enemy of the heavenly realm. He did not want to waste time talking, nor did he want to make a move for no reason and attract a large number of enemies. Wait. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? Are you feeling guilty? Are you from the heavenly realm? Seeing that Night Sorrow wanted to leave, the leopard head supreme being's eyes suddenly lit up. Clan M. Chapter 3043. It had been a long time since someone from the heavenly realm appeared in the supreme space. When he saw Night Sorrow, he subconsciously thought that he was from another territory like him. It's been a long time since someone from the heavenly realm appeared. I'm the same as you, waiting here. But I didn't find anything, so I prepared to go to other areas to look for opportunities. Yi Shang's expression didn't change as he replied. There were many dangers in the sovereign space. He felt that it was better to avoid trouble, so he explained patiently. No. Your aura doesn't seem like you're from another territory. You're from the heavenly realm. Haha. Today, I, Hu Bao, am in luck. Surrender now. Hu Bao laughed loudly, took out a Chang flute, and blew it. Not good. He's summoning others. Let us go out and kill him together. Hearing the flute, Master Wan Jian immediately shouted. It's true that whatever you hate, you'll get it. But don't worry, I don't need you guys. Night Sorrow transmitted his voice and directly shot Hu Bao with the divine finger. It directly destroyed the Dantian of the intermediate supreme space. Divine finger? Isn't that a long-lost ability of the heavenly realm? You're really from the heavenly realm. And an important person. You can't escape, you can't escape. Hu Bao shouted angrily after his Dantian was destroyed. But by the time he said those words, Night Sorrow had already destroyed his deity ocean. Brother Yi. Amazing. A middle supremacy was actually insta-killed by you. Seeing that Yi Shang had killed the leopard fox in one move, the myriad sword sex master in the heavenly abode praised. He originally thought that since they were all half-step supreme space, their strength should be about the same. But Night Sorrow's move just now made him give up on that idea. Not only did the gap between them not shrink, but it also widened. Xiao Tianxian asked curiously, Night Sorrow, what was that move just now? Its terrifying attack power is unheard of. This absolute art is called God's Finger. It's a long-lost divine ability of the God world. You can learn it after you've advanced to the supremacy stage. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to keep it. After all, if I learn this kind of divine ability, I have to prevent it from being leaked. As Night Sorrow spoke, he sped up. The identity he used was not the 9 mystical lands mystique, but it was derived from the 9 mystical lands mystique, mysterious sky shadow. It was called the secret shadow of God. This movement technique was much stronger than the profound sky dragon roaming steps. His speed had almost reached the level of a half-step earthly sovereign. However, although Night Sorrow's speed was fast, he was still quickly discovered by another supreme martial artist. After this supreme being discovered Night Sorrow, he didn't immediately attack. Instead, he transmitted his voice to the other supreme beings nearby. He wanted those people to cooperate with him and form an encirclement, preparing to surround Yi Chang. Clearly, there were a lot of supreme beings in the vicinity. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to surround them. This isn't good. I'm afraid we'll encounter a lot of supreme beings this time. Everyone should have a chance to come out and fight. After flying for about 2 days, Night Sorrow suddenly came to a conclusion. When he flew over a wasteland, he realized that he had nowhere to go. He had been blocked by more than 10 supreme beings. Haha. If I'm not wrong, you're Night Sorrow, the one who shone in the battle of providence in the realm of gods, right? After a total of 13 supreme beings blocked Night Sorrow, a middle-aged scholarly male cultivator asked with a cold smile. It's me. What are you going to do? Night Sorrow didn't seem to know the other party's purpose. In fact, he was using the power of his godly soul to check if there were other supreme beings around. He didn't expect to be discovered so quickly. If he had known, he wouldn't have cared about the image crystal. Ha ha ha. If it's you, we've succeeded. Your bounty is a half-step earthly sovereign divine weapon. And a large amount of earthly sovereign rules and essence. A greedy look appeared on the scholarly man's face. Since you know that my bounty is high, why don't you think about whether you have the ability to take it? Night Sorrow looked at him coldly. This scholarly man was an upper supreme being, and the other supreme beings present were 5 intermediate supreme beings and 7 lower supreme beings. With such strength, Night Sorrow could deal with him if he used all his means. "You're just a half-step supreme being, what's so difficult to deal with? Brothers, attack me. After we get the reward, we'll split it equally." The scholarly-looking cultivator roared and attacked together with the others. At this time, Night Sorrow transmitted to everyone, there must be a large number of supreme beings from other territories around. Everyone, attack together and strive to win. After saying that, he released all the people from Myriad Sword Sect. At this time, there were a total of 11 of them, including Jing Yun. 11 against 13, they wouldn't lose in terms of numbers. Apart from Jing Yun, who was an upper supreme being, everyone else was a half-step supreme being. Although they were half-step supreme beings, 3 or 4 of them could cross realms and fight supreme beings. Although the others were slightly weaker than supreme beings, with the 3 of them working together, defeating an ordinary supreme being was not a problem at all. In this way, the pressure left for Night Sorrow was much less. Originally, there were 13 supreme beings, all ready to attack him, but now, there were only 5 supreme beings left, including the scholarly man. To ordinary cultivators, facing 5 supreme beings alone with a half-step supreme being was a nightmare for them. The scholarly man and the others also thought so. However, they soon realized that their way of thinking was completely wrong. Night Sorrow's strength was far stronger than they imagined. His true strength was close to half-step supreme being. Coupled with the golden heavenly halberd, he was simply unstoppable. In the process of the battle, the scholarly man and the others had already transmitted to the other supreme beings nearby. They knew that they couldn't take down Night Sorrow and the others at all. Therefore, as the battle progressed, Night Sorrow and the others found that although they were constantly killing supreme beings, the enemies were obviously increasing. "Brother Yi, we can't go on like this. Although our strength is enough, we can't handle so many people. If this continues, the local supreme beings can't go more than 100. In the process of the battle, Murong Zhenlu said with some worry. "That's true. The enemy supreme beings are like ants, more and more. We can't continue to waste time." Night Sorrow, who had already killed more than 10 supreme beings, saw that the number of enemies had increased to more than 20. He was ready to completely explode. He immediately used the Treastrimsa battle's secret technique and raised his aura to the strongest. And summoned Little Seven. He ordered, "Little Seven, explode your ability and absorb all these people." As for the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, after the Battle of Providence ended, it had absorbed a large amount of Earth's supreme being's laws and essence and was in a deep sleep. It should be about to advance from middle supreme being to upper supreme being. Night Sorrow didn't disturb it. Clan M. Chapter 3044. Let me try. I don't know why, but I can feel a strong suppression in this sovereign space. I'm afraid I can't fully unleash the power of an earthly sovereign. After Little Seven was summoned, he immediately felt that something was wrong. After giving it a try, he realized that this was indeed the case. At most, he could only exert the power of a half-step earthly sovereign. It seems that Senior Longevity was defeated not only because he was poisoned or besieged, but also because of the suppression of the sovereign space. After hearing Little Seven's words, Night Sorrow immediately thought of the fall of Supreme Longevity. The suppression of the sovereign space was definitely a nightmare for Supreme Longevity. However, after Night Sorrow understood this, he immediately calmed down. With the suppression of the sovereign space, the earthly sovereigns from other territories wouldn't dare to appear. After all, those peerless experts treasured their own feathers. He didn't want to repeat the same mistake as Supreme Longevity. This way, Night Sorrow and the other earthly sovereigns in the realm of gods would have a much better living environment in the sovereign space. After all, without the existence of an earthly sovereign, Night Sorrow would soon have no natural enemies. Brother Yi, there are more and more enemies, and many earthly sovereigns from other territories are rushing over. What should we do? Murong Guides, who was in the middle of the battle, saw Night Sorrow's eyes and knew that he was thinking about something. However, the current development of the battle was extremely disadvantageous for the people in the realm of gods. If the battle continued, they wouldn't be able to hold on much longer. Injuries and even death were inevitable. It's okay, I haven't unleashed my full power yet. Night Sorrow replied to Murong Guides. Then, he transmitted his voice to Little Seven, since you can't unleash your full power, let's work together. I'll defeat one, and you'll absorb one. Okay. That's easier. Little Seven replied excitedly after hearing Night Sorrow's words. You guys have bullied the realm of gods for long enough. From today onwards, this situation will completely change. Night Sorrow, who was holding the golden heavenly halberd, placed the small tower on his shoulder and completely activated the flames of the Phoenix battle armor. The Phoenix battle armor on his body had actually been damaged many times. However, the magical thing about it was that every time it was destroyed, it would successfully be reborn. Its strength now reached the level of a sovereign. Haha. Ignorant junior. You think that you can shine in the fight for sovereign rank's destiny? You think you can wreak havoc in the sovereign space? If you focus on cultivating for a few eras, you might be able to. But Yu's wrongs came too early. Everyone, attack together. Today, our priority is to kill this little bastard who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Zhu Xian's sovereign space was surrounded the 9 sovereigns SSSSS spaces his sovereigns. Sovereigns at his command, est have A's sovereign heavens S sovereignty, TTST, S origin sovereigns AAA's his S. After he spoke, a few sovereigns gave up on dealing with the others and surrounded Night Sorrow. In an instant, the number of sovereigns surrounding him had increased to 7. Little bastard, you dare to kill Xian Qingyu of the 9's origin sovereign? Let's see how you'll die today. Supreme Zhu Xian, who was attacking Yi Shang with the other 6-9 Heaven Supremes, clenched his teeth and roared. He then executed an ultimate move at Yi Shang. Heavenly Heaven Slash. The half-step earthly sovereign Zhu Xian's attack was extremely powerful. He looked like he was going to fight with his life on the line. Amazing. How can we still attack? When Zhu Xian attacked, the other 6 sovereigns even forgot to attack. In their opinion, this attack had reached the limit of a sovereign's. And Night Sorrow was a half-earth sovereign. Everyone felt that Night Sorrow would definitely be killed by this attack. Night Sorrow, be careful. This attack isn't simple. Little Seven, who was on Night Sorrow's shoulder, also rose. It also realized the power of this attack. Don't worry, if it was in the past, I don't think it would be easy for you to take this attack. But now, I've already learned the 9's origin sovereign's divine ability. This attack of his is derived from the origin sovereign's divine ability. I can easily break it. Night Sorrow, who had activated the Clam Dragon's Eye, could see that Zhu Xian's attack was derived from the 9's origin sovereign's divine ability, Mysterious Sky's Secret Shadow. As the true wielder of the Mysterious Sky's Secret Shadow, he naturally had an innate advantage against Zhu Xian's Heavenly Heaven Slash. You'll follow in Xian Qingyu's footsteps soon. Facing the Heavenly Heaven Slash, Night Sorrow roared and attacked with the God's Spear. This move was developed from the fusion of the God's Finger and the Mysterious Sky's Secret Shadow. In fact, the Eternal Sovereign's divine ability all came from the Myriad Tao divine ability. However, Night Sorrow had not noticed this before. Now, the Black Heaven True Self Slash's ultimate technique made him realize this. God Spear? Why does this move have the shadow of the Mysterious Sky's Secret Shadow? Seeing Night Sorrow unleash the God Spear, Supreme Zhu Xian's pupils immediately constricted. However, this thought only flashed across his mind and he did not say it out loud. Night Sorrow, who had successfully dodged the Heavenly Heaven Slash, pierced his dantian with a spear. Although the power of this spear that Night Sorrow had fused with was inferior to the God's Finger, its destructive power was similarly astonishing. It directly pierced through Supreme Zhu Xian's Feng Yu robe and body. Impossible, how is this possible? Supreme Zhu Xian did not expect that Night Sorrow had already grasped the core divine ability of the Nine's origin sovereign. Having his dantian pierced through in one strike, his face was filled with disbelief. Nothing is impossible. If I can kill Xian Qingyu, I have the ability to kill you. Night Sorrow did not wish for Supreme Zhu Xian to reveal the secret. Without giving him a chance to continue speaking, he directly crushed his divine soul. Supreme Zhu Xian, who came from the 4 great holy lands, was completely killed by Night Sorrow in a single exchange. This time, the rest of the supreme martial artists were completely shocked. They instantly understood that a ruthless person had appeared in the realm of the gods. And his current cultivation level was only half a step away from being a supreme. They did not dare to believe that when Night Sorrow grew up and became a true supreme, what kind of combat power would he have? This Night Sorrow is not easy to deal with. Summon the top supreme martial artists. After being stunned for a moment, the 6 supreme martial artists who were besieging Night Sorrow began to communicate with each other through telepathy. Then, they did not dare to be careless and attacked Night Sorrow together. They wanted to win with numbers. Even Supreme Zhu Xian was killed in one strike. None of you are even half a step away from being an earthly sovereign. You still want to defeat me? After the small pagoda sucked Supreme Zhu Xian in, Night Sorrow and the other 6 supreme martial artists began to fight. Although the other party had the advantage in numbers, he was not afraid. However, the problem now was that they could not continue to fight because the supreme martial artists from other territories were still rushing over. Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. Human mobile version reading website, M. Chapter 3045. However, what surprised Night Sorrow was that the other people in the heavenly realm were much stronger than he had imagined. Myriad Sword Sect and Shao Tianxian, who had been healed by Yan Hengshi, were not weaker than the other supreme martial artists. They were even more powerful than before. Furthermore, Myriad Sword Sect even killed an intermediate supreme martial artist one-on-one. Although Shao Tianxian did not kill a supreme martial artist one-on-one, he was able to disintegrate one supreme martial artist. He had to use a secret technique to barely escape. The other sovereigns were not as strong as the 2 of them, but everyone, including Jing Yun, was very valiant. Their combat power had increased by a lot. Especially Wu Lingfei, who was already vaguely catching up with Myriad Sword Sect and Shao Tianxian. Facing a supreme martial artist alone, she was able to force him to retreat. Very good. Everyone's collective improvement is a rare good thing for the heavenly realm. While fighting, Night Sorrow was also paying attention to the other people in the heavenly realm, afraid that someone would be in danger. At first glance, he realized that he was worrying too much. After the baptism of the battle for Providence, the people in the heavenly realm had already grown into independent experts. If the original team participated in the battle for Providence, the heavenly realm would definitely be able to easily win the championship. Bastard, you dare to be distracted when fighting 1 against 6. Now, Night Sorrow was actually paying attention to the other people's battles in the battle. The few supreme martial artists who were fighting with him were completely enraged. One by one, they used their ultimate skills to fight with their lives. Night Sorrow, be careful. Although the supreme martial artists were not as strong as Supreme Zhu Xian individually, the 6 of them were fighting with their lives on the line, so the threat was obviously greater than Supreme Zhu Xian. Little 7 immediately reminded him. No worries. Although there are 6 of them, they are not a whole. Just defeat them 1 by 1. But time is tight, we can't waste too much time with them. Attack, it must be a fatal blow. After replying to Little 7, Yishan withdrew his consciousness. Holding the golden heavenly halberd, he used God's shadow to dodge the attacks. At the same time, he unleashed a divine essence trapping formation and divine finger at one of the primes. He cleanly shattered his dantian. God's finger? What he used seems to be the long-lost God's finger. Could he be the reincarnation of supreme longevity? Seeing Night Sorrow shattering a supreme martial artist's dantian from a distance, some of the supreme martial artists present. The divine ability of the realm of the gods had disappeared for many years. Now that it had appeared once again, they began to doubt it. Whether he is reincarnated or not, quickly. He can use divine abilities, but we can't. How are we going to fight him? After Yi Shang displayed the long-lost divine ability of the god realm, many supremes began to fear him. Their god. It was rumored that the divine finger was the strongest attack of the eternal supreme. No one could withstand it. No one wanted Night Sorrow to open a hole in their body. God, another. After Yi Shang heavily injured the supreme being in front of him, Little Seven let out a human-like laugh and put him into the small pagoda. He turned it into rules and essence. Then, when they fought Night Sorrow again, the remaining supreme martial artists changed their tactics. They no longer fought with their lives on the line. Instead, they fought with their lives on the line. However, Night Sorrow's combat power was almost at the level of a half-step earthly supreme. Even if they focused on defense, it would be difficult for them to resist him. It didn't take long for Night Sorrow to kill another 2 paragons. Now, there were only 3 paragons left in front of Night Sorrow. The 3 of them exchanged glances. How could they possibly have the courage to continue fighting? The supreme martial artists who were fighting with the rest of the god world didn't notice Night Sorrow's situation at first. By the time they realized it, it was already too late. In the blink of an eye, Night Sorrow had killed 3 supreme martial artists. He killed every time he attacked. He was like a god of death. At this point, the supreme martial artists present were scared out of their wits. They all used their secret techniques to escape. Some of the supreme martial artists who had rushed over saw so many supreme martial artists running away, and they also ran away in fear. No one dared to continue fighting in the god world. Haha. Brother Yi, you are really brave. The power of the divine finger just now is amazing. The myriad sword sect laughed loudly. After Night Sorrow's power, the battle became like this. At the same time, he was quite interested in the divine finger. The divine finger is a good thing. But a man's wealth is his own ruin. You should wait until you become a supreme martial artist and can take charge in the supreme space before you learn it. Night Sorrow could naturally see through the myriad sword sect's thoughts and said with a smile. Haha. Okay, I will wait for a while more. The myriad sword sect also smiled. He was a little embarrassed that Night Sorrow had seen through his thoughts. At this time, Yuan Fengshua laughed and said, Haha, it's okay. We are not in a hurry. If you are not strong enough to learn the divine finger, you will be targeted wherever you go. That's right. But if you encounter a dangerous situation, you have to fight with your lives on the line. I will teach you the divine finger in advance. This divine finger is very special and can only be taught one by one. But the advantage is that as long as you teach it, you will be able to learn it directly. Night Sorrow explained and continued, those weak supreme martial artists have escaped, but it doesn't mean that the others will not come. Let's go directly to the big and small grotto heavens. Okay. Let's enter your space grotto heaven again. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Wu Lingfei asked. Okay. My movement technique should be faster. After saying that, Night Sorrow kept everyone in the space grotto heaven and continued to rush to the big and small grotto heavens. Along the way, they were summoned 3 times, and each time, it was an earth-shattering battle. However, under Night Sorrow's continuous attacks, although the people of the heavenly realm were seriously exhausted and everyone, including Night Sorrow, was injured, no one died. Just like that, about 6 months later, they successfully arrived at the periphery of the big and small grotto heavens. Something's not right. There is obviously something going on inside. Just as they approached the periphery of the big and small grotto heavens, Night Sorrow felt that something was wrong and quickly stopped. Using the eye of the sea serpent, he saw that there were many formations set up around the big and small grotto heavens. And there were a few supreme martial artists hiding around. These supreme martial artists were all lower-level martial artists. Their strength was not very strong, but they were good at hiding. Obviously, they were hidden sentries. How can there be such a coincidence? We were just about to save people when we saw people coming to the big and small grotto heavens to look for opportunities. Master Wan Jian said unhappily. At this time, he was still in Night Sorrow's space grotto heaven, just like the others. There must be a rare treasure in the big and small grotto heavens that attracted some people here. I think this is our chance to become supreme martial artists. At this time, Night Sorrow recalled what Supreme Longevity said and said slowly. Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3046. It's a good thing that a treasure has appeared in the big and small grotto heavens. We can't be absent. Thousand Sword Master said excitedly when he heard Night Sorrow's words. Even in the grotto heaven, he could not suppress his desire to fight. He realized that after Night Sorrow's appearance, the strength of the people around him had increased by more than one level. It's a good thing. But looking at the situation in front of us, it might be a great danger. There must be many experts inside. Night Sorrow used the eye of the sea serpent to observe the formation in front of them for a long time. He was sure that the person who had set up the formation was at least a half-step earthly sovereign. Of course we're going in. Do we barge in or think of some other way? Thousand Sword Master asked. Xiao Tianxian and the rest did not say anything, but they were also paying attention. Obviously, they were looking forward to becoming earthly sovereigns. Let's kill the few hidden sentries in front of us first, then let the restriction-breaking hammer try to break the formation without anyone noticing. Then we'll have enough time to hide in the dark. After communicating with the restriction-breaking hammer, Night Sorrow said. Although the formation in front of them was very mysterious, the restriction-breaking hammer had the ability to break it. Then, he added, of course. If we can capture these earthly sovereigns alive, that would be even better. We can ask who's in there, and when the people inside ask about it, we'll be able to respond easily. It won't be easy. After all, they are earthly sovereigns. It's already very difficult to kill them without anyone noticing, let alone capture them alive. Xiao Tianxian said with a frown when he heard the plan. There are a total of 6 of them, and they're hiding in different places. It's not easy to kill them without anyone noticing. How about this, I'll teach you the divine finger. When the time comes, we'll find the right time to kill them with a single blow. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow felt that this was the best choice for now. If it were not for the current situation, he would not have taught them the divine finger so early. So suddenly? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone in the realm of God hesitated. After all, this was not going according to plan. From the looks of it, this is the safest way. Yi Shang added. Then, he led the people of the God realm away and found a safe place. Before imparting the God's finger to everyone, Night Sorrow frowned and said, actually, imparting the God's finger to everyone is not something difficult. However, we must ensure that the divine abilities of the divine realm are not learned by outsiders. Let's make an oath right now. He would never impart the secret technique to anyone. After all, things like divine abilities could only be passed down from one person to another. You can't learn it through soul-searching techniques. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Xiao Tianxian looked at the others and said. Then, he took the initiative to swear a deadly oath. This meant that even if he died, he would not impart this ability to anyone else. After Xiao Tianxian finished his oath, the others followed suit and made their oaths. After they finished their vows, Night Sorrow began to teach them the divine arts one by one. In less than 20 breaths of time, he finished teaching them. Time is of the essence. Everyone, quickly comprehend it. However, there's no need to test it out to avoid alerting the enemy. After all, the distance is not far. After imparting the divine abilities, Night Sorrow allowed everyone to comprehend it for a while before keeping them back into the space cave. With the help of the concealment rune, Night Sorrow found a suitable location and divided everyone into 5 groups. He placed them near the 5 supreme beings while he faced one of them alone. Everyone, get ready. I will count down from 1. Everyone, use your god's finger to kill the enemy. One of you will attack the Dantian while the other one will attack the deity ocean. After placing everyone down, Night Sorrow said, "Don't worry. We are all ready." Master Wan Jian said excitedly. The others were the same. After all, none of them had used their divine abilities before. All right. Then I shall begin. 3, 2, 1. Asterisk boom. 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 Asterisk. When Yi Shang counted to 1, everyone attacked the supreme martial artists who were not far away from them from 6 different directions. With the help of the god's finger, the 6 supreme beings were all killed without making a sound. Just in case, Night Sorrow did not leave any of them alive. Restriction breaking hammer, it's up to you now. After keeping the teleportation stones and other items of the 6 supreme beings, Night Sorrow asked Little Seven to absorb them all. Then, he summoned the restriction breaking hammer. This kind of formation may be very mysterious to you. But to us, it's nothing at all. We can break it with a wave of our hand. After the male hammer was summoned, it immediately cooperated with the female hammer and successfully broke a hole in the formation. At this time, Wu Lingfei asked, "Are you sure this won't alert the people inside?" Absolutely not. Unless there is a heavenly supreme inside. The female hammer, who recognized Wu Lingfei as its master, replied. That's good. Let's go in. After getting a positive answer, Wu Lingfei looked at everyone and said, "No hurry. We can set up some more formations on top of this formation. This way, we can know in advance if anyone comes." Yi Shang said as he casually set up some array formations nearby. Among them, there was an illusion formation, a trap formation, and a concealment formation. In the concealment formation, there were a few image stones. Shall we go in together or enter your space grotto heaven again? When everyone was about to enter the grotto heavens, Xiao Tianxian looked at Night Sorrow again. It will be safer for everyone to hide in my space grotto heaven. However, I think that since we are representing the heavenly realm, we should go in together. After all, the heavenly realm does not belong to me alone. Night Sorrow smiled and said to everyone. After teaching them the god's finger, he had a deeper level of confidence in everyone's strength. All right. Being taken care of by you all the time has lowered our vigilance and we have become dependent on you. This is not good. Jin Xian said with a smile as he walked into the grotto heavens. However, after walking for a short distance, he frowned and said, "What a strong smell of blood." From the position of the cave, there should have been a battle. Indeed. Everyone, be careful. Using the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow looked into the distance and found that there were many torn corpses in the dark cave. The corpses of these cultivators were all in a horrible state. Night Sorrow, can you see anything? As everyone walked into the cave, the smell of blood became stronger and stronger. Murongji pointed the way and asked. This cave is not simple. If I'm not wrong, this is a land of death. There is a terrifying existence here. Before Night Sorrow could say anything, Xiongji spoke first. The seal-breaking bronze hammers had an extraordinary understanding of space. With a simple look, they were sure that there was no way out. There was no way out. Moreover, there were torn corpses all around. This was different from what they had imagined before they came in. Genius memorized the address in 1 second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3047. Seal-breaking hammer, work together and try to break the seal. Everyone else, be on guard. After the seal-breaking hammer made its judgment, Night Sorrow immediately reminded everyone to be on guard. The smell of blood here was too strong. Obviously, the corpses nearby had been killed not long ago. It was very likely that there was a horrifying existence in this sealed cave. However, even when Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to observe, he did not find anything. When Night Sorrow did not find anything, Jingyun shouted, "Not good. I feel that something is spying on us. Jingyun is the weakest. The thing hiding in the dark might want to attack her. Everyone, get ready to attack." Thinking of the miserable corpses around him, Night Sorrow's heart clenched as he stood beside Jingyun. Moreover, the others in the realm of the gods also unconsciously moved closer. In an instant, the temperature in the dark cave dropped a lot. Even though everyone was a dominator, they could still feel the coldness in their bones. There's a murderous aura. It's very strong. In the tense atmosphere, Night Sorrow suddenly transmitted his voice to everyone. This time, although the sea serpent's eye did not see anything, he could already feel the terrifying murderous aura. It's coming. I can feel it. It's coming. As soon as Night Sorrow finished speaking, Jingyun shouted. Then, she condensed her divine origin energy and used the divine finger in a direction. As her divine finger lit up the distance, everyone saw a headless armored corpse slowly crawling out of the soil. As for Xiang Yu's attack, it might have been due to panic, but it did not hit its target. This armored corpse should have the strength of an earthly sovereign when it was alive. Now, it should be a half-step earthly sovereign. However, it is stronger than an ordinary half-step earthly sovereign. After all, it had comprehended the rules of an earthly sovereign when it was alive. Everyone, be careful. Little Seven glanced at the armored corpse in front of them and immediately reminded everyone. If it's alone, there's nothing to be afraid of. However, if the number keeps increasing, it will be difficult to deal with. After using the sea serpent's eye to observe the headless armored corpse, Night Sorrow said coldly. The armored corpse's aura was strong and full of murderous aura. However, the giant axe in its hand was already blunt. Who cares how many there are? Let's fight. The 10,000 sword sect roared and took the lead to charge forward. In everyone's opinion, Jing Yun's cultivation time was too short after all, so she was still a little weak. Roar! Just as Master 10,000 Sword swung his sword at the armored zombie. Out of nowhere, the headless armored zombie let out a roar. Then, he swung his axe fiercely at the 10,000 Sword sect. The precepts contained within this swing were clearly stronger than the myriad sword sect's attack. With a boom, the master of the 10,000 swords was sent flying. If it wasn't for his sword's quality, it would have been broken. This thing is quite capable, everyone be careful. After being sent flying by a single blow, Master Wan Jian felt that his breathing was a little labored, so he immediately reminded everyone. Just as he spoke, the armored zombie charged at him ferociously. This time, the armored zombie didn't swing the giant axe in his hand. Instead, he stretched out his hands in an attempt to tear the myriad sword sect to shreds. Seeing this scene, Night Sorrow and the others could no longer stand still. Godly Spear. After condensing his elemental energy, Yishan immediately shot out the Godly Spear. This Godly Spear, with the help of Godly Shadow, was extremely fast and wasn't inferior to the Godly Finger. As soon as he finished speaking, Night Sorrow's attack had already landed on the armored zombie's body. The clanging sound of metal colliding rang out in the enclosed space. The armored zombie, which was about to tear the master of the 10,000 swords sect to shreds, was blasted a few hundred feet away. A few hundred feet wasn't a short distance, but for a cultivator at Night Sorrow's level, it wasn't far at all. When he bombarded the armored zombie's body, he felt like he was hitting a solid piece of iron. This armored zombie's body is very strong, everyone be careful. After helping the master of the 10,000 swords sect up, Night Sorrow reminded everyone. The attack just now made him realize that the armored zombie's body was obviously stronger than an ordinary half-step earthly sovereign. Thank you. I was a little careless just now. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid I would have been torn to shreds. After the master of the 10,000 swords sect got up, he said with lingering fear. During the exchange just now, cold sweat flowed down his back. If it weren't for Night Sorrow's timely intervention, his body would have been torn to shreds in a moment of carelessness. The armored zombie's strength was obviously stronger than what the master of the 10,000 Swords sect had imagined. Let's not talk about this for now, let's continue to fight. Although the armored zombie is strong, it shouldn't be invulnerable. After helping the master of the 10,000 Swords sect up, Night Sorrow once again condensed his divine origin energy and attacked the armored zombie with the godly finger. When Night Sorrow attacked, the rest of the people in the realm of the gods also attacked with the godly finger. Although the armored zombie's body was strong, its speed wasn't fast. Although it knew how to dodge, it didn't manage to avoid these attacks. However, only Night Sorrow's attack managed to penetrate its armor. The others' attacks didn't have much effect. This thing's defense is too terrifying. Jin Xian's brows furrowed in shock when he saw that the armored zombie hadn't suffered much damage despite being bombarded by a barrage of attacks. After all, the godly finger's attack power was very sharp. It's okay. Being able to penetrate its defense proves that it isn't invulnerable. Little 7, if it loses its ability to resist, can you swallow it? This thing was an earthly sovereign when it was alive. If you swallow it, you should be able to gain a lot of benefits, right? Night Sorrow asked Little Tower as he cooperated with the others to attack the armored zombie. Little 7 replied with certainty, in this situation, I definitely can't. But if it loses its ability to resist, then we will definitely gain a lot. In addition to the previous accumulation, I can help one of you become an earthly sovereign in a short period of time. Good. Very good. Night Sorrow was shocked when he heard Little 7's reply. Whether it was him or the others, their strength would increase greatly when they became earthly sovereigns. This was definitely a great thing for the Grotto Heavens. However, the battle in front of them was obviously more difficult than they had imagined. Although everyone attacked together, they quickly suppressed the armored zombie. Just as the armored zombie was about to lose its ability to fight, it suddenly let out an earth-shattering roar. After the roar, dozens of specters with the strength of earthly sovereigns immediately appeared in the cave. Every single one of these soul-like spirits was extremely ferocious. Although they were specters, they still had the ability to fight. After they appeared, they cooperated with the armored zombie to launch a terrifying soul attack on the people in the realm of the gods. The strength of the soul attack made Night Sorrow feel that it was a little difficult to deal with. Chapter 30-48. Such a terrifying divine soul attack is hard to deal with. What should we do? Seeing so many divine souls unleashing such a powerful divine soul attack, Murong Jinlu anxiously shouted. His shouts filled the cave. Murong Jinlu's shouts had the intention of disrupting the morale of the army. Xiao Tianxian shouted in dissatisfaction, "What are you shouting for? This is a sealed space. We are fighting with our backs against the wall. There is no way out. If you want to live, fight with your life." But, Murong Jinlu wanted to say something, but he was quickly entangled by two divine souls. Under their attacks, Murong Jinlu quickly lost the ability to resist. Night Sorrow. Murong Jinlu seems to be unable to resist. Night Sorrow, who was in the middle of the battle, had consumed a lot of his divine soul. He had no time to look around, so he did not notice the problem with Murong Jinlu. It was Little 7 who reminded him. Bastard. Turning around to look at Murong Jinlu, Night Sorrow's eyes immediately changed. At this moment, he had been completely defeated, and his divine soul was being torn apart. Night Sorrow did not hesitate at all. He directly used Soft Dragon Roar to push back the two divine souls that were fighting Murong Jinlu. Then, he kept them in his space grotto heaven. He asked, "Jinlu, how are you? Luckily you acted in time, or else I would have died." Murong Jinlu's face revealed a bitter smile. After surviving a disaster, his mood was a bit uneasy. But at this moment, he still reminded, "Don't worry about me, there are still others. These damn things are too hard to deal with. Don't worry. I will think of a way." Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Murongzhenlu, then continued to fight with the divine souls. Although everyone tried their best to resist, they were still at a disadvantage. The headless armored corpse, which had been injured earlier, was also gradually recovering. When it completely returned to the battlefield, everyone in the heavenly realm was completely suppressed. This won't do. If this goes on, we will all die here. Everyone, take out whatever secret treasures you have. Even if we self-destruct, it is better than being killed ourselves. Thousand Swords Master shouted. We know that too. But what he could take out, he had taken out almost all of them. After all, even the Restriction Breaker Hammer and Little Seven have joined the battle. Jin Xian replied helplessly. The current situation was simply too passive. A trace of despair gradually rose in everyone's hearts. Right at this critical moment, Night Sorrow suddenly shouted, Primal Chaos. Come out quickly. Suck all these souls into your Primal Chaos space. We'll deal with them in the Primal Chaos space. Good. Watch me. When the chaotic heavenly crystal beast received Night Sorrow's order, it immediately came out of the spatial paradise. He had just achieved the upper level 9 heaven supreme realm not long ago. His aura was extremely strong. After he appeared, he completely exploded. Together with Night Sorrow, they fought against the headless armored corpse and sucked everyone into the chaotic space. Then, he shouted, Night Sorrow. I'll hold off this armored zombie. You go in and deal with those Supreme Being spirits. Good. You just have to hold it back. Night Sorrow said and also entered the Primal Chaos space. In the Primal Chaos space, he could be considered half a master, and he was completely familiar with it. It was completely different when he fought against those Supreme Being spirits. After the Supreme Being spirits were suppressed, Night Sorrow completely exploded and quickly finished off a few of them. At this time, he shouted, Everyone, now is the best opportunity. If we delay any longer, the Primal Chaos space will not be able to suppress them. Okay. The others made a long story short and immediately attacked. With everyone's cooperation, these originally extremely terrifying Supreme Being spirits were destroyed one by one. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast has really done a meritorious deed this time. Without it, we might have all died this time. After finishing off these Supreme Being spirits, Xiao Tianxian said with lingering fear. Boom! Right at this moment, they who were within the chaotic space immediately sensed a strand of extremely powerful collision force. Not good. The Primal Chaos space can't resist the armored zombie. Let's go help immediately. Night Sorrow, who had also relaxed a little, realized this problem and immediately shouted. Okay. Let's kill that headless armored zombie together. Myriad Sword Sect also said. Then, everyone in the Heavenly Realm territory came out of the Primal Chaos space. As soon as they returned to the cave, they saw the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's huge body that had been knocked down. Although its body was incomparably huge, its combat strength was much weaker than the armored zombies. If it wasn't for Night Sorrow immediately striking the armored zombie with the divine finger as soon as he appeared, the armored zombie would have been killed. Primal Chaos. You've done well this time. Jing Yun, give all the earthly supreme rules and essence to the Primal Chaos. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast was seriously injured, so Night Sorrow immediately asked Jing Yun to take out the champion's reward that had not been absorbed and give it to the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. I'm fine, I just need to rest for a while. After the chaotic heavenly crystal beast collected the resources, it returned to Night Sorrow's grotto heaven to recover. At this time, it had already contacted Night Sorrow's battle pet contract and was considered friends. As for Yi Shang and the others, they no longer called him it. Okay. You rest in peace. I will avenge you for being injured. Night Sorrow transmitted his voice and once again held the golden heavenly halberd in his hand. The armored zombie's body was very strong, and its combat strength was astonishing. Among the people present, only he could fight against it. Then, Night Sorrow restrained the armored zombie while the others bombarded it from a distance. After fighting for about 6 hours, they finally defeated the armored zombie completely. Little 7, quickly suck it into the tower. When the armored zombie lost its combat strength, Night Sorrow immediately reminded Little 7. Don't worry. I've long been ready. Hearing this, Little 7 instantly sucked the armored zombie into the tower. Although it was only on the 7th level of the Eternal Divine Tower, its functions were still very powerful. After sucking the armored zombie in, it quickly converted it into rules and energy. After doing all this, Little 7 said, at present, except for Night Sorrow, any one of you can quickly advance to the supreme stage if you enter the tower to cultivate. Who will go first? How long will it take to advance to the supreme stage? After Little 7 finished speaking, Night Sorrow asked. If he wanted to advance to the supreme stage, he needed more rules and essence than the others. Little 7 in front of him couldn't help him much. It depends on comprehension. If it's not bad, a few years will be enough. Little 7 thought for a moment and replied. Then, everyone in the Heavenly Realm territory immediately discussed who should go first. Originally, everyone recommended the Myriad Sword sect because he was more brave and would be the first to face any danger. If he could advance to the supreme stage, it would be a very good improvement for the entire team. However, Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3049. However, after being recommended by everyone, Myriad Sword Master felt that it was better to let Jing Yun, who was an upper-level dominator, directly advance to the supreme level. It was obviously more suitable for an upper-level dominator to advance than a half-step supreme. When everyone heard this, they felt that it made sense, so they did not continue to argue. They let Jing Yun, who was too embarrassed, enter the Eternal Divine Tower to cultivate. Finally, with Night Sorrow's nod, Jing Yun finally went in and began to cultivate. Night Sorrow led the others to search for the exit of the cave in front of them. However, after looking around, they found that there was no exit at all. At this moment, Myriad Sword Master asked doubtfully, if there is no exit or entrance, how did the armored zombie leave after killing the supreme level? After all, when we first entered here, there were no creatures in the cave. That makes sense. Let's look carefully. Night Sorrow said, and then transmitted his voice to the restriction-breaking hammer. You guys also study and see if there are any restrictions around. We've been looking, but we haven't found any clues. The hammer replied immediately. They really couldn't find any way out. Little 7 had no way out either. For a time, everyone was trapped in the cave. Just like that, he had been trapped for 10 years. In these 10 years, Night Sorrow and the others tried all kinds of methods, but they couldn't leave. Obviously, their attacks couldn't threaten the cave in front of them. After 10 years of being trapped, Myriad Sword Master sat helplessly on the ground and said sadly, we won't be trapped here forever, right? There's such a possibility. If there's really no other way, we can only cultivate hard. Try to break through to the supreme level and then try to attack the surrounding walls. Night Sorrow said helplessly. After being trapped for so many years, he had no way out. Divine Finger was the most powerful attack in the Eternal Supreme World, but it couldn't break through the walls of the cave. Because the walls of the cave could grow by themselves. After being blasted open, they would heal by themselves in the blink of an eye. Sigh. Without relying on resources, it's easier said than done to advance to the supreme level. Among us, I'm afraid only Jing Yun can advance to the supreme level. Myriad Sword Master said helplessly. It's fine. If we go out late, we'll miss the opportunity at most. It's nothing. At this moment, Xiao Tianxian comforted her. He, on the other hand, had been relatively calm and had been cultivating peacefully. That's nothing. Can you imagine the purpose of our trip? It was to rescue the 2 Vice City Lords. The strength of the 2 City Lords should be slightly stronger than Brother Yi. Aren't you also trapped in the formation and unable to come out? Master Wan Jian said speechlessly. After hearing what he said, everyone's faces changed. That's right. The two Vice City lords were trapped in the same grotto heavens. Their situation was very likely the same as theirs. Don't worry, we will definitely be able to get out. At this moment, Knight Sorrow comforted him with certainty. He had the Supreme Longevity Summoning Stone in his hands. He could summon the Supreme Longevity from any corner of the Eternal Supreme World. With his ability, he would definitely have a way to leave. What was that sound? Why is there thunder in the cave? After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, Yuan Fengshues suddenly asked with a puzzled expression. What thunder? Hearing this, Master Wan Jian frowned. But soon, he also heard the sound of thunder. At this moment, Little Seven said, it's Jingyun facing the Supreme Tribulation in the Eternal Divine Tower. If nothing unexpected happens, she will soon become a Supreme. Really? That's great. Hearing that Jingyun was about to become a Supreme, everyone's eyes lit up. Knight Sorrow and Wu Lingfei were a little worried that Jingyun would not be able to withstand the Supreme Tribulation. However, the facts proved that their worries were completely unnecessary. Half a month later, a delicate shout suddenly came from the Eternal Divine Tower. Then, Jingyun's graceful figure suddenly flew out of the Eternal Divine Tower. At this moment, runes were flowing on her body, making her look like a floating immortal. And her aura was very stable. She did not give off a feeling of emptiness because her strength had increased too quickly. Haha. Congratulations to Jingyun for becoming a Supreme. You are one step ahead of all of us. After confirming that Jingyun had successfully become a Supreme, Master Wan Jian was the first to congratulate her. Knight Sorrow's face had a trace of a smile. He was sincerely happy for her. Then, everyone else also congratulated her. After everyone finished, Jingyun said softly, actually, when I entered the Supreme Divine Tower to cultivate this time, not only did my strength advance to the level of a lower Supreme, I also obtained a lot of useful things. Oh. What things? Wu Lingfei was puzzled. The things I obtained were the armored zombies' memories. It turns out that in the big and small grotto heavens, there are 3 big grotto heavens and 3,000 small grotto heavens. What place is here? It is one of the small grotto heavens. At this point, Jingyun paused for a moment and said, and in the big and small grotto heavens, there are cave masters. The cave masters in the 3 big grotto heavens are all earthly sovereigns. However, their strength is suppressed by the supreme space, so they can't completely unleash the strength of an earthly sovereign. As for the 3,000 small grotto heavens, the cave master's strength is about the same as the armored zombies. Then how do we get out? There should be such things in the armored zombies' memories, right? After Jingyun finished speaking, Knight Sorrow asked. Of course there is. Jingyun smiled and said, what I'm talking about is the original cave master. Actually, anyone who defeats the original cave master can become the new cave master and have the authority to enter and exit the grotto heavens. In this small grotto heavens, the cave master was defeated by everyone. However, its laws and essence have all been absorbed by me. Therefore, I became the new cave master of this small grotto heavens. It is very easy to get out. Is that so? That's great. After Jingyun finished speaking, Master Wan Jian immediately laughed. After being trapped for so many years, now that they could finally get out, he was not the only one who was relieved. Everyone else also relaxed. Getting out is a very simple thing. But the problem is that the purpose of our trip is to rescue the 2 deputy city lords. There are more than 3,000 grotto heavens. How are we going to find them? At this time, Jingyun said hesitantly. Other than the cave master, is there any other way to break into the grotto heavens? Knight Sorrow continued to ask. He felt that having many grotto heavens was not a problem. But the fatal thing was that if they barged in recklessly, it was very likely that they would be trapped in one of the grotto heavens. If the cave master of the grotto heavens did not choose to fight to the death like the armored zombie, but chose to escape directly, Then they would be trapped in the grotto heavens forever. That would be very tragic. There is a way, such as an earthly supreme level attack. Or a heavenly supreme level attack. Jing Yun said helplessly. So there is no way to break into those grotto heavens? Hearing this, everyone in the heavenly realm territory was a little disappointed. However, at this time, Night Sorrow suddenly said, the two city lords should be able to be saved. Chapter 30-50. Oh. How are we going to save them? We are not earthly sovereigns or heavenly sovereigns. It is definitely not a wise choice to go to other grotto heavens. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Xiao Tianxian asked doubtfully. We do not have the attack power of an earthly sovereign or heavenly sovereign now. But as long as I advance to sovereign, the divine finger should not be inferior to an ordinary earthly sovereign attack. At that time, we can travel between different grotto heavens. Yi Shan analyzed for a moment before he continued, therefore, we should go and fight for the fortuitous encounters. As long as we get the opportunity, everything will be fine. That makes sense. Others in the sovereign realm cannot attack at the level of an earthly sovereign. But you are different. You can fight across realms. Naturally, you can also attack at the level of an earthly sovereign. Hearing this, Xiao Tianxuan's eyes lit up. Everyone else's eyes were also filled with boundless light. At this time, Night Sorrow looked at Jing Yun and asked, Jing Yun, you have some memories of the armored zombie. Is there any record of the opportunity in it? Currently, we are in the dark and do not know anything. There are some. Jing Yun organized her words and said faintly, in the armored zombie's memory, a great opportunity will appear in the sky of the grotto heavens every million years. The earthly sovereign's rules and essence will fall from the sky. But every time, the competition is very fierce. Many cave masters will fall in the competition. This is also the reason why the armored zombie is crazily accumulating divine souls. In addition, many sovereigns from the eternal sovereign realm will appear. Will the cave masters of the three grotto heavens appear? After Jing Yun finished speaking, Night Sorrow asked. If there were no accidents, the competition for the opportunity would definitely be a big scene. In a chaotic battle, if there were three earthly sovereigns, it would be too dangerous. Although their strength would be suppressed, ordinary sovereigns would not be able to fight against them. There will also be opportunities in the sky of the three grotto heavens. The opportunities in the three grotto heavens will be much stronger than those in the 3,000 grotto heavens. Generally speaking, the three cave masters only need to guard the opportunities in the three grotto heavens. He wouldn't abandon the watermelon to pick up the sesame. However, if someone wants to steal the fortune from the three grotto heavens, they will definitely be attacked crazily. Jing Yun organized her thoughts and explained to everyone. Everyone in the divine world was filled with fighting spirit. Without a doubt. The upcoming opportunity would definitely be a crazy fight for it. In the midst of fortuitous encounters, there were bound to be cruel killings. However, if one could emerge from the cruel slaughter and snatch a large number of opportunities, one would be able to become a new force. These people from the God world would also successfully advance to the autarch level. That way, he would be able to catch up with the experts of the older generation and be able to hold his own. Especially Night Sorrow, if he could successfully advance, he would definitely reach the heavens in a single bound. He was about to break away from the sovereign realm and reach the level of the Earth Sovereign. After we get the opportunity, we will give it to Night Sorrow first and strive to let him break through to the Supreme Being level first. This is a big deal. Does anyone have any objections? After Jing Yun finished speaking, Xiao Tianxian pondered for a moment before speaking. What's there to disagree about? Brother Yi advancing to the Supreme Being level is the key to saving the two deputy city lords. Of course, we agree. Wan Jianzong said indifferently and continued, but I say, Brother Xiao, we are all going through life and death together. Things like resources, don't talk about it in the future. It's unnecessary and will affect our relationship. Hee, that's right. Between us, there's no distinction between us. Jin Xian also said with a smile. Xiao Tianxian also laughed at their words. Yes, it's my fault. I apologize to everyone. At this moment, Yuan Fengxue asked curiously, "Oh right, Jing Yun. When will the opportunity that you mentioned arrive?" According to the armored zombie's memory, it should be around 30 years. After Jing Yun said this, she pondered for a moment and continued, "Generally speaking, whenever this period approaches, there will be many people entering the big and small grotto heavens. If there are no accidents, there will definitely be people entering the grotto heavens we are in. There will be a lot of battles. It's better if people come. Anyway, our divine world territory has no friends in the eternal supreme world. When the time comes, we will kill whoever comes." Wang Jianzong said with hostility. All these years. Under the suppression of the top-ranked territories, the territories in the eternal supreme world had indeed stood on the opposite side of the divine world territory. The reason why the divine world territory could survive until now was basically because of the prestige of the supreme longevity. If we kill a few more, maybe we can accumulate enough resources to let one of you advance to the sovereign level. However, killing sovereigns can only obtain the sovereign level rules and essence. Knight Sorrow needs the sovereign level rules and essence, he has no use for these. After Wang Jianzong finished speaking, Little Seven said eagerly. This is indeed a good thing. You guys are so talented that you don't need to consider absorbing the ordinary sovereign level rules and essence, but I need them. Next time, let me advance. Nie Zhonglin, who had not spoken for a long time, said with a smile. In the past, Jin Xian was the weakest in this team. But now, the weakest one was Nie Zhonglin. Nie Zhonglin was a little unwilling to accept the current situation. He thought that although the earlier one advanced, the weaker the accumulation, it was still better than being last forever. Good. Since Zhonglin thinks so, we will naturally support you. Nie Zhonglin finally spoke, and Knight Sorrow immediately supported him. After that, the people of the divine world territory returned to the small grotto heaven controlled by Jing Yun, and waited patiently for the arrival of the other territory's cultivators. When they entered the grotto heaven, they randomly appeared in the small grotto heaven in front of them, and it should be the same for the others. Therefore, they were not worried that a large number of sovereigns would enter at once. However, after waiting in the grotto heaven for 2 years, not a single sovereign appeared. Wang Jianzong could not sit still anymore, and asked Knight Sorrow, "Brother Yi, is the concealment array that you set up still there? Use the image stone to observe what happened at the entrance of the grotto heaven. Is that okay?" "Sure. If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten about it," Knight Sorrow replied. Speaking of which, it had been a few years since they entered the grotto heaven, and he was not sure if the image stone was still there. That's right. It's still there, and it's in perfect condition. Knight Sorrow confirmed that the image stone in the concealment array was in perfect condition. Immediately, an image was constructed in the grotto heaven. This image was naturally from the image stone, and it recorded the situation at the entrance of the grotto heaven. Very good, with these images, we can see all the possible opponents in advance. After the image appeared, Wang Jianzong said excitedly. Chapter 3051. It's just a part of the eternal supreme world. The enemies in the grotto heaven should all be very strong. What we need to pay attention to the most is still them. After saying this, Yi Shang continued, however, I don't think so. In our small grotto heaven, the enemies we may encounter will be clear at a glance. This is very advantageous for the battle. How about this, when we have nothing to do, we will cultivate here. One of us will pay attention to the image. Good. Then you all cultivate, I will pay attention to the image. Nie Zhonglin volunteered. If he did nothing and directly entered the eternal divine tower to cultivate, he would really be embarrassed. After Nie Zhonglin began to pay attention to the image sent by the image stone, the rest of the people in the God World territory entered the state of cultivation one by one. In terms of realm, they have all reached the peak of the supreme level. It is impossible to break through in a short period of time. Therefore, under the guidance of Night Sorrow, they began to use the divine finger to create their own absolute art. After explaining the general theory, Night Sorrow also began to study the divine finger and mysterious sky's secret shadow. He had also studied these two divine abilities before, but his study was not very detailed. The fusion of the absolute art is also not considered the top. And in the next fight for the opportunity, there will probably be thousands of Supremes. It will definitely be a big scene, but it will also contain endless danger. If you are not careful, you will be sneak attacked. Therefore, Night Sorrow wants to fuse an even more powerful absolute art in the next 30 years or so. This time, he wants to add something of his own into the absolute art. However, after studying for more than 2 years, he has just made some progress. Nie Zhonglin reminded everyone, pay attention, someone is preparing to enter the large and small grotto heaven. Looking at their clothes, they should be people from the Moon's shadow territory. There are 12 Supremes in their group. 3 of them are half-step Earth Supremes. Their strength is not to be underestimated. Everyone, get ready for battle. If they descend here, everyone will use their divine abilities at the first moment. Try to give them a heavy blow at the first moment. After waking up from the state of enlightenment, Night Sorrow immediately instructed. Don't worry. We won't be polite at all. Thousand Sword Sect and Murong Jinlu rubbed their fists and said. If it had been a few hundred years ago, any one of the 12 people from the Moon's Shadow Estate would have been able to kill these people from the divine world. But now, the 11 of them, including Night Sorrow, had completely grown up. He's in. Everyone, prepare to attack. Seeing that the people of the Moon's Shadow Estate had entered their respective grotto heavens, Nie Zhonglin reminded them. At the same time, he was already preparing the God's finger. They were prepared to launch an unexpected attack the moment the people from the Moon's Shadow Estate appeared. In fact, Nie Zhonglin wasn't the only one. Night Sorrow and Xiao Tianxian were the same. They had also prepared the God's finger and were waiting for the people of the Moon's Shadow Estate to descend into the small grotto heaven before them. However, things did not go as planned. In the end, the people of the Moon's Shadow Estate did not appear. After calming himself down, Night Sorrow asked in confusion, Jing Yun. If everyone entered one of the grotto heavens, they would be teleported to one of the smaller grotto heavens. How could outsiders compete for the opportunities above the 3,000 paradises? After all, if the cave master doesn't let them go, they won't be able to leave. After the opportunity opens, I'll try to find a way out. Those who enter the grotto heavens will be directly teleported to the sky above the 3,000 grotto heavens. There is no possibility of being trapped by the grotto masters. Jing Yun said. He said. Then why did the people of the Moon's Shadow Estate come more than 20 years in advance? After all, with the strength of the Moon's Shadow Estate, they should be very clear about this kind of opportunity, Night Sorrow speculated doubtfully. Who knows, the Moon's Shadow Estate might have already taken control of some of the small grotto heavens. They might have a cave master in their group, and they might be able to teleport directly into the small grotto heavens, Jing Yun analyzed. Yes. What you said is very reasonable. But if that's the case, then the only people who can enter our little grotto heaven are hotheads like us. Night Sorrow said with a smile. He thought to himself, there really aren't many people like them, who are fearless and directly charge in. What happened later proved this point. In the following 10 years or so, some of the cultivators who appeared should be similar to those from the Moon's Shadow Estate. Even though they had their own grotto heavens, none of them had entered this small grotto heaven. And Night Sorrow, in these 10 years, had also completely integrated a new unique skill. Mysterious Immortal Golden Slash. This move had integrated the speed of the mysterious sky's secret shadow, the attack power similar to the divine finger, and the attribute attack of the golden heavenly halberd. It was very powerful. As for Xiao Tianxian, the myriad sword sect, and the others, they had also gained something. Especially Wu Lingfei, who used her bloodline talent to integrate a very powerful flame attack. Phoenix burns the 9 heavens. After she struck out this attack, every wisp of flame was like the divine finger, with great destructive power. After she developed it, Jing Yun, who also had the Phoenix bloodline, simply learned this move from her. It didn't take long for her to master it. Because Jing Yun was a supreme being, her execution of this move was stronger than Wu Lingfei's. Her current attack had completely left Xiao Tianxian, the myriad sword sect, and the others in the dust. Among the crowd, she was second only to Night Sorrow. Although Night Sorrow hadn't advanced to the supreme being realm, his strongest attack could already challenge a half-step earthly supreme being. It wasn't something that Jing Yun could compare to. Under Wu Lingfei and Jing Yun's guidance, everyone began to exchange ideas and gained a lot. Out of confidentiality, Night Sorrow didn't tell anyone about the mysterious sky's secret shadow, afraid that the Supreme Longevity's possession of Feng Wuji would be exposed. Someone's here. Someone's finally here. It's Supreme Being Qing He. Qingyun Territory Supreme Being Qing He. In the battle for Providence, he was one of the 108 Supreme Beings. While everyone was exchanging ideas, Nie Zhonglin, who had been waiting for someone to come, spoke again excitedly. However, after he finished speaking, he said in surprise, "Oh no. Qingyun Territory has sent 16 Supreme Beings at once. 3 of them are half-step earthly Supreme Beings. With their strength, they're not to be trifled with. If they enter the small grotto heaven we're in, we might not be their match. What's there to be afraid of? If we're not their match, let Jingyun teleport us out." Hearing Nie Zhonglin's words, the myriad sword sect said disdainfully. "Yes, that makes sense. We're in an invincible position." Nie Zhonglin smiled and formed the divine finger again at the same time. The others in the heavenly realm were also on guard. However, this time, they were no longer channeling the divine finger. They were all preparing for a new ultimate technique. And this time, the people of Qingyun Territory were really randomly teleported to the small grotto heaven they were in. Clan M. Chapter 3052. Attack. After the people of the Green Cloud Territory teleported in, Night Sorrow immediately roared. He knew very well that the 108 Supremes who could participate in the battle for Providence were all half-step earthly Supremes and had a certain status in their territories. None of them were easy to deal with. Therefore, in terms of overall strength, the other party was definitely stronger than them. The people of the Celestial Realm had to act quickly and deal a heavy blow to the other party before they landed on the ground. And that was indeed the case in reality. Although Supremacy Qing He and the others of the Green Cloud Territory had been vigilant, they did not expect to encounter all kinds of attacks as soon as they landed. Boom! 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 After Night Sorrow gave the order, the attacks of the people of the Celestial Realm were all focused on the people of the Green Cloud Territory. That kind of concentrated public attack made these Supreme Beings feel like they were in a terrible fix. For a time, the people of the Green Cloud Territory were bombarded into a sorry state. Even Supremacy Qing He, who was leading the team, was unable to stand steadily. Continue to attack, use secret treasures and divine artifacts. After the people of the Green Cloud Territory lost their footing, Night Sorrow continued to remind them. Kill. Then, the people of the Celestial Realm roared loudly. Just as the people of the Green Cloud Territory were about to start preparing, they all raised their strength to the maximum and fought with thousands of people. Although the small grotto heaven in front of them was not big, it was more than enough to accommodate dozens of people fighting. Although the people of the Celestial Realm, who had the upper hand, did not have the advantage in terms of numbers and strength, they obviously caught the other party off guard in the battle. Many of the cultivators of the Green Cloud Territory fell into a passive state before they could use many of their methods. For example, Supremacy Qing He of the Green Cloud Territory, who was a half-step earthly supremacy, was suppressed by Night Sorrow's crazy attacks. "You're Night Sorrow of the Celestial Realm?" Good, very good. The younger generation is really to be feared. After all, Qinghe had participated in the battle for Providence and was very familiar with Night Sorrow. He immediately recognized Night Sorrow's identity. However, he didn't underestimate Yi Shang just because he was a half-step supreme being. Night Sorrow had led an extremely weak celestial realm territory to win the battle for Providence by himself. This showed that he was a person of great providence. Supremacy Qing. He knew that in terms of luck, he was definitely not as good as Night Sorrow's. The situation in front of him also proved this point. The only thing he could rely on was his powerful strength. Different half-step earthly supremes had different levels of strength. As a supremacy Qing, he was a supremacy of the celestial realm. He was very confident in his strength supremacy of the celestial realm. After supremacy Qing he spoke. Night Sorrow said coldly, "When it comes to fighting, he's an opponent. There's nothing of the younger generation. All these years, you people have been humiliating the God world in every possible way. Now is the time to settle the karma." Ha 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 ha. If you're talking about the celestial realm's territory, our Qinghe group was really involved in it. And I've personally killed a female cultivator named Supremacy Rui and even severely injured a male cultivator named Supremacy of the Horn Clan. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Supremacy Qing he sneered and roared, "The next one to be killed is you, Night Sorrow. Don't think that you can behave atrociously in the supreme space just because you have amazing providence. You're still too inexperienced." At the same time, Supremacy Qing he summoned his halberd and smashed it toward Night Sorrow. The target that Night Sorrow had chosen to attack was Supremacy Qing he. One of his arms was injured, and his primordial energy was constantly leaking out. However, the battle had already begun, so Supremacy Qing he did not have the time to pay attention to it. His slash unleashed an endless amount of golden light that slashed horizontally at Yi Shang. This seemed to be the simplest slash, but Night Sorrow suddenly felt like his body was bound and he could only take the attack head-on. So be it. Who's afraid? Mystic Immortal Golden Slash. Today, I'll take revenge for the Horn Clan's supremacy. Faced with Supremacy Qing he's powerful attack, Night Sorrow roared and used the Immortal Golden Slash that he had just comprehended. He was not going to hold back at all against Supremacy Qing he, who had severely injured the Horn Clan's supremacy. Boom! When the two attacks collided, a shocking energy fluctuation immediately erupted. The loud sound of the collision caused some of the surrounding cultivators to be shaken to the point that they were unable to stabilize their minds. Quite a number of people were looking in their direction. When they saw this, the people of the Qingyun territory were dumbfounded. They suddenly realized that Supremacy Qing he's halberd had been broken by Night Sorrow's spear. How is this possible? My immortal slaying war halberd. You deserve to die. The moment the immortal slaying war halberd in his hand was broken, Supremacy Qing he was stunned for a moment in disbelief before he flew into a rage. The immortal slaying war halberd had fought with him for several cycles, so they had a very deep relationship. But he did not expect it to be broken by Night Sorrow today. Even the artifact spirit inside had been destroyed by this attack. How could he not be furious? If you want to kill me, you need strength, not words. You should be a veteran supremacy, yet you don't even understand this. Night Sorrow looked at him coldly. While they were talking, he used his divine soul power to scan the others in the battle. The people of the Qingyun territory, who were now unstable, did not show their combat strength at all. Although the many cultivators of the heavenly realm could not suppress the other party, they were evenly matched for the time being. Jingyun was fighting against the other half-step earthly supremacy of the Qingyun territory, and she vaguely had the upper hand. Speaking of which, the Myriad Sword sect was in the most sorry state in the heavenly realm. He had sacrificed another half-step earthly supremacy to pin down the Qingyun territory, but he was beaten back repeatedly. At this moment, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Little Seven, Restriction Breaker Hammer, go and help Brother Wan. Okay. Don't worry. With our help, he won't be so passive anymore. Little Seven responded and flew to Myriad Sword Sec's side with the restriction breaker hammer. With their help, the master of the Myriad Sword Sect immediately smiled. He glanced at Yi Shan and continued to fight. Supremacy Qing He, who was ridiculed by Night Sorrow, was completely enraged. His veins were bulging, and he directly ignited the power of his bloodline and fought with his life on the line. Junior. Die. This is not your time yet. After Qing He ignited his bloodline power, he put away the broken halberd and used his speed to close in on Night Sorrow. He was ready to engage in close combat. Close combat, huh? Come on. I'm not afraid of you. Night Sorrow, who was very confident in his close combat ability, saw through Supremacy Qing He's intentions and was not afraid at all. On the contrary, he was quite excited. He put away the golden heavenly halberd and fought with his opponent. Clan M. Chapter 3053. Junior. You overestimate yourself. Seeing that Night Sorrow had chosen to fight him head-on, a sinister smile appeared on Supremacy Qing He's face. At the same time, he roared inwardly, Green Cloud Myriad Transformations Art. He instantly increased the strength of his body by dozens of times and started fighting with Night Sorrow. As a half-step earthly sovereign, Supremacy Qing He's strength was about the same as Night Sorrow's. It was just that his body was slightly weaker. However, after using the Green Cloud Myriad Transformations Art, he instantly gained the upper hand. This was because the Green Cloud Myriad Transformations Art was a divine ability passed down in the Green Cloud territory. How did the strength of Supremacy Qing He's body increase so much in such a short period of time? Night Sorrow, who had been fighting with him for a while, frowned and used the sea serpent's eye to observe. He immediately saw something that normal eyes could not see. The surface of Supremacy Qing He's body was covered in a layer of green energy runes. In the subsequent attacks, Night Sorrow confirmed that it was this layer of green energy runes that was taking effect. His melee attacks were basically all blocked by these energy runes. Therefore, they did not have much effect. What an amazing ultimate technique. Or perhaps, you're using a divine ability? After resisting for a while, Night Sorrow looked at Supremacy Qing He and said. For the time being, he really had no way of breaking through his opponent's defense in melee combat. He could only passively take a beating. Humph. You have a good eye. But what can you do? Our Green Cloud territory's divine ability has an amazing defense. You have no way of breaking it. While suppressing Night Sorrow, Supremacy Qing He sent a voice transmission confidently. Your Green Cloud territory's divine ability is indeed very powerful. But it's not invincible. It was obvious that the Green Cloud territory's divine ability was to increase the cultivator's defense. However, the Godly Realm's divine ability was the sharpest attack. During the conversation, Night Sorrow, who was constantly thinking, knew that he did not have the chance to activate the Divine Finger or the mysterious immortal Golden Slash in melee combat. Under such circumstances, he did not take out his golden heavenly halberd. Instead, he started thinking about a new ultimate technique. After being suppressed by Supreme Qing He for about 100 breaths, Night Sorrow finally comprehended a new supreme technique amidst the other party's arrogant laughter. He channeled all the power of the Divine Finger into his fingertip. Then, he would use the power contained in his finger to fight against Paragon Qing He. After the power of the Divine Finger was channeled to his fingertips, Night Sorrow's next attack produced an immediate effect. He scratched one of Paragon Qing He's arms, leaving a bloody wound that was so deep that his bones could be seen. How is this possible? That's impossible. Supremacy Qing He had a look of disbelief on his face when Night Sorrow scratched his arm until it bled. What shocked him wasn't that he was injured, but that the divine ability of the Clear Sky territory was broken. This was something he simply could not accept. Nothing is impossible. Since your defense has been breached, then just wait for your death. In the process of being suppressed, although Night Sorrow was passive, he relied on his strong fighting spirit to successfully resolve the opponent's attacks time and time again. At this moment, he was already able to breach the other party's defenses, so it did not take long for him to gain the upper hand in the battle. How is this possible? Could it be that he has already comprehended the divine finger of the divine realm's divine ability to perfection? He can change the way he uses it at will? During the battle, Supremacy Qing he frowned as he thought about this. However, no matter how he thought about it, it was useless. Because he was completely suppressed. How dare you get distracted while fighting me? Knight Sorrow, who knew that his opponent was letting his imagination run wild, roared and attacked again. This time, not only did Knight Sorrow use his finger to channel the divine finger, but he also cast the divine essence trapping formation. He trapped Supremacy Qing he within it. Junior. You're always so overconfident. Let's see how you're going to die. Logically speaking, the trapped Supremacy Qing he should have been in despair. However, he did not. Instead, he burst into a confident grin. Then, Supremacy Qing he summoned a battle pet that was about as strong as him in the enclosed space. This battle pet was a tall white ape. The white ape had 8 arms, and each of them held a weapon. After being summoned, the white ape roared at the sky and cooperated with Supremacy Qing he to launch a fierce attack on Knight Sorrow. This isn't going to be easy. In a one-on-one battle, Knight Sorrow could easily suppress Supremacy Qing he. However, now that he summoned the white ape, it was a 2-on-1 battle. In an instant, Knight Sorrow was once again suppressed. He felt a little helpless as he murmured to himself. At this moment, the other people in the divine realm were also evenly matched with the other party. They were vaguely in a passive position. The only one who had the upper hand was the Myriad Sword sect. With the help of the restriction-breaking hammer and Little Seven, he was suppressing the other party's half-step earthly sovereign. Therefore, Knight Sorrow immediately sent a voice transmission to the Myriad Sword sect. Brother Wan, I'm placing all my hopes on you in this battle. Cooperate with the restriction-breaking hammer and Little Seven and quickly kill your opponent. Then come and help me. Don't worry. We'll be able to finish him off very soon. While the Myriad Sword sect sent a voice transmission to Knight Sorrow, he unleashed his strongest fighting spirit. He transformed into a sword and fought with the other party. However, although he had the upper hand, it was still difficult for him to kill the other party in a short time. What should I do? The Myriad Sword sect, who knew that Knight Sorrow was fighting against 2 people at once, was extremely anxious. However, there was nothing he could do. At this moment, Little Seven suddenly said, "Forget it. I'll unleash my power once." How are you going to unleash your power? The Myriad Sword sect asked curiously. You'll know when you see it. Little Seven sighed, and the tower suddenly erupted with a bright light that filled the sky. These rays of light quickly gathered together. It formed a transparent human body. After the energy gathered into a human body, its strength was similar to that of a half-step earthly sovereign. Then, it did not continue to help the Myriad Sword sect. Instead, it rushed to Knight Sorrow's side. You're Little Seven? Yi Shang asked doubtfully when he saw the performance of the ability to measure his body. That's me. But this time, I've used up a lot of my accumulated power for hundreds of thousands of years. You'll have to compensate me later. Little Seven said faintly. Don't worry. I'll leave most of the gains this time to you. Knight Sorrow said with a smile. If Little Seven had not unleashed his power at the critical moment, their heavenly realm territory would really have to withdraw from this small grotto heaven. Now, they had the confidence to fight. It's not just the battle in front of us. During the fight for fortuitous opportunities, I'll also absorb a lot of energy. Otherwise, it'll be very difficult to make up for the consumption this time. Little Seven said and continued, I'll help you restrain the white ape. You continue to fight with Supremacy Qing He. Remember, end the battle quickly. I won't be able to hold on for long. Don't worry. I'll kill him as soon as possible. Knight Sorrow said. Then, he added, as for the energy, you can absorb as much as you want. Clan M. Chapter 3054. Haha. Since you've said that, anything is negotiable. Little Seven replied cheerfully and started fighting the 8-armed white ape. Strangely, after the battle started, Little Seven, who was originally in his human form, suddenly transformed into the 8-armed white ape. The 8-armed white ape fighting him was completely enraged by Little Seven and started attacking him crazily. However, Little Seven, who had transformed into the 8-armed white ape, was not afraid of the 8-armed white ape at all and easily blocked its attacks. Seeing that Little Seven was temporarily holding off the 8-armed white ape, Night Sorrow felt a little relieved. However, he knew very well that Little Seven would not be able to hold on for long. The Myriad Sword sect would also not be able to withstand the other party's half-step earthly supremacy. Therefore, when facing Paragon Ching He again, Night Sorrow unleashed all his combat power and fought him crazily. This time, Paragon Ching He's defense was no longer unbreakable in close combat. Not long after the battle started, he was forced into a passive position. After being suppressed by Night Sorrow, Paragon Ching He, who was in danger of losing his life at any moment, looked at the others and realized that both sides were evenly matched. The other battles were very tense, and they were not progressing as quickly as his side. He had wanted to call for help, but when he realized that there was no one to call for help, he suddenly had an ominous feeling. He thought to himself, that little B** starred is much stronger than I expected. There's nowhere to run to in the grotto heaven. What should I do? How dare you get distracted? Die. Night Sorrow, who realized that Paragon Ching He was starting to think of a way out, still had the upper hand. With a loud roar, he broke one of Paragon Ching He's arms. After losing half of his arm, Paragon Ching He let out a beast-like roar. His brows were filled with resentment. However, he quickly put away his resentful expression. He sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow. Actually, we don't have to resort to violence to solve this matter. We can definitely talk about it. Oh. What do you want to talk about? Night Sorrow asked in return. His attacks didn't stop for even a moment. Don't continue to kill us. If you let us go, I'll secretly teach you the Qingyan territory's inherited mystical ability, the Qingyan Myriad Transformations art. After Paragon Ching He said that, Night Sorrow was still attacking him. He continued, I can swear that what I've imparted to you is the true divine ability of inheritance. There is absolutely no falsehood in it. You've already mastered the God's finger. If you learn the myriad transformations, you'll definitely be able to fuse them together to create a new and powerful mystical ability. It's also a good thing for the upcoming fight for the opportunity. Oh. Why do you say that? We can really do it. Hearing Paragon Ching He's words, Night Sorrow was a little tempted. The most precious thing in every territory was the inheritance of the divine ability. Night Yi was the myriad sword myriad transformations, Night God. However, he was not a child. He continued to attack the other party during the conversation. However, it will be very painful for me to pass on the inheritance to you privately. If the people in the territory find out, I will definitely die a horrible death. While we're fighting, I'll secretly teach you. Also, you have to promise not to use this mystical ability in front of the cultivators of the Qingyan territory. How about that? Supremacy Ching He bargained with him. He was clearly a coward who was afraid of death. Humph. You're about to be destroyed, so what right do you have to bargain? Night Sorrow snorted in disdain and said, immediately swear a heavenly Tao oath to teach me the mystical ability. As for me, I won't make any oaths to restrict myself. However, I can promise that I'll try my best not to let the people of the Qingyan territory know about this. That's great. Paragon Ching He replied and immediately swore a heavenly Tao oath. Then, he secretly taught the myriad transformations art to Night Sorrow. After learning the myriad transformations art, Knight Sorrow had already mastered 3 mystical abilities. However, he did not have the time to study it now. He sent a voice transmission to Paragon Qing He and said, "How do you think we should end this battle?" "There's a way, there's a way. I'll pretend to lose to you and let you capture me. After you capture me, you can kill all the people of the Qingyun territory present here. Then, you can let me go." Paragon Qing He sent a voice transmission to Knight Sorrow. In order to survive and not expose what had happened today, he had really made up his mind. In order to survive, you're really despicable and shameless. Knight Sorrow said disdainfully, but he did not object. After all, Paragon Qing He had already used the myriad transformations art to buy his life. In the ensuing battle, Paragon Qing He was indeed captured by Knight Sorrow, just as he said. Then, the 8-armed white ape was also recalled. Without the 2 top combatants, Paragon Qing He and the 8-armed white ape, the strength of the Qingyun territory decreased by about 30% in an instant. How could they resist the attacks of the people of the heavenly realm? After Knight Sorrow joined the battle, the people of the Qingyun territory were quickly suppressed. However, they were not as humble as Paragon Qing He. They had no intention of surrendering at all. In the end, they were all sucked into the eternal divine tower. This time, they were transformed into laws and essences. Little Seven absorbed all of them and did not leave them for Nie Zhonglin. This was because he had consumed a lot of energy at a critical moment and needed these to make up for it. After wiping out the people of the Qingyun territory, Knight Sorrow let Paragon Qing He out. He said, "You can leave now." "All right. I'll leave right away, I'll leave right away." Paragon Qing He nodded and bowed. Then, he said, "Please teleport me out." "Jing Yun, let him go." Knight Sorrow glanced at Jing Yun. "Let him go?" Jing Yun, who usually obeyed Yi Shang's every word, was surprised when she heard this. It was not only her. The others in the heavenly realm were also puzzled. Seeing everyone's reaction, Knight Sorrow continued, "Let him go, and I'll explain the cause and effect of this matter." "All right. You can leave now." When Jing Yun heard this, she immediately opened the passage to the small grotto heaven and let Paragon Qing He out. After Paragon Qing He left, Knight Sorrow immediately told them about the Qingyun myriad transformations art. Hearing this, everyone in the heavenly realm came to a realization and felt that it was appropriate. At this moment, Knight Sorrow said with some doubt, "Actually, I think there's something fishy about this matter. They clearly know that they can enter but not leave the small grotto heaven, and it's very difficult to kill the cave master. It's very easy for them to be trapped in the small grotto heaven, so why would they come here with blind confidence? That's indeed the case. Maybe they have a way to leave the small grotto heaven? Or maybe it's because of something else?" Xiao Tianxian made a random analysis, but he did not give any useful information. Yi Shang and the others didn't pursue the matter. After chatting for a while, Knight Sorrow said, "It's better to enjoy together than to enjoy alone. Next, I'll impart the Qingyun myriad transformations art to everyone. Clan M." Chapter 3055. Haha. Brother Yi is really generous. If an ordinary person obtained such a good thing, they would definitely hide it. There are very few people who are so generous to share it. When Knight Sorrow was about to share the Clear Cloud 1000 transformations art, Myriad Sword Sect immediately laughed and praised. Everyone is on the same side. There's nothing that can't be shared. Knight Sorrow said with a smile and continued, "It's the same as the God's finger. I'll teach it one by one. After everyone learns it, try your best to comprehend and fuse the 2 divine abilities. Strive to fuse them into a new absolute art." "Good. Don't worry. With the God's finger as a precedent, after we learn the Clear Cloud 1000 transformations art, we will definitely have great gains." Murong Ji Lu said confidently. In today's battle, if not for everyone comprehending a new absolute art from the God's finger, they would definitely not have been able to resist the cultivators of the Clear Cloud territory for so long. Since they had tasted the sweetness, they also had the mood and motivation to continue studying. Changlin, go first. In recent years, Nia Zhonglin had been staring at the screen and did not cultivate much. Night Sorrow was the first to impart the Clear Cloud Thousand Transformations art to him. After teaching, Night Sorrow looked at Nia Zhonglin and said, Changlin, the energy absorbed by the Eternal Divine Tower this time is all used to repair itself. So, you need to postpone the matter of you advancing to the Supreme Stage. After everyone finishes learning, I'll let the restriction-breaking hammer stare at the screen. Let's all cultivate together. All right. I have to catch up with the progress too. In the battle just now, the combat strength that Nia Zhonglin displayed was already a certain gap with everyone. At this moment, he was ready to work hard to catch up. Go and fuse. I heard that the Eternal Supreme World's divine abilities can be fused infinitely. It's fine if it's just 2 or 3, but if you fuse too many, it will be a test of your comprehension. It shouldn't be difficult for you to fuse 2 divine abilities now. You can add your own comprehension of cultivation into it. Night Sorrow instructed Nia Zhonglin and continued to teach the Clear Cloud Thousand Transformations art to the others. After teaching, Night Sorrow rested for a while and began to study the fusion of the 3 divine abilities. About 2 years' time, he fused a new absolute art. This was a very sharp spear technique. The offensive power of the Divine General Finger, the defensive power of the Green Cloud Mantra, the speed of the Shantian's Secret Shadow, and the battle experience in his head were all combined into one. Night Sorrow eventually named this spear technique, Qingxian Godly Spear Technique. After this move was fused, Night Sorrow decided not to use the spear arts that he had comprehended or fused in the past. This was because the Qingxian Godly Spear Technique was the essence of what he had learned in the past. He had integrated all his previous understandings into it. If I were to fight another round with Qingxian Prime, I should be able to win even more easily. After fusing the Azure Profound Divine Spear Technique, Night Sorrow practiced it a few times in his mind and confirmed that it was much stronger than the Immortal Golden Slash. However, the others were still fusing their own unique skills, so he didn't make any noise. He calmly stayed where he was and tried to figure out the other absolute arts, but he didn't gain much. Not long after, the male hammer of the prohibition-breaking hammer reminded him, Night Sorrow, another cultivator has shown up. Looking at their strength, they should be very strong. Oh. Let me see. Night Sorrow, who had been awakened, immediately looked at the screen. The group of people in the screen did look very strong. Moreover, one of them seemed to have the strength of an earthly sovereign. They should be from the Heavenly Owl territory and are our sworn enemies. The one leading them should be an earthly sovereign. Logically speaking, an earthly sovereign would be suppressed to the level of a half-step earthly sovereign in the supreme space. However, I think this group of people must have the means to break through the grotto heaven. They are definitely not to be trifled with. Night Sorrow said with a frown as he thought of Mu Tianai, who had been killed. Tianshao territory was one of the 4 holy lands of the Eternal Supreme World. Moreover, both sides had old and new grudges. If they encountered each other, there would definitely be a battle. The current strength of the heavenly realm was definitely not a match for Tianshao territory. Other than an earthly sovereign, Tianshao territory also had 5 half-step earthly sovereigns, more than 10 upper earthly sovereigns, and more than 20 ordinary sovereigns. With such a lineup, let alone the heavenly realm, any other territory would not dare to say that they would have the upper hand. Their strength is really strong. Xiong Chui exclaimed. He could faintly feel a trace of pressure towards the earthly sovereigns of Tianshao territory. We'll try our best to avoid them. Moreover, I think they're after the opportunity in the sky above the grotto heaven. Otherwise, they wouldn't have used such a lineup. Night Sorrow looked at the cultivators of Tianshao territory and analyzed their movements. The opportunity in the sky above the 3,000 grotto heavens was useless to an earthly sovereign. The earthly sovereigns of Tianshao territory had brought so many sovereigns here. They were obviously up to something big. Hearing this, Xiong Chui, who was originally a little afraid of the earthly sovereigns of Tianshao territory, suddenly said, "If there's a big battle in the winter, can we try and get a share of it?" If we can get something that's useful to earthly sovereigns, then that's a good idea, but it's too dangerous. But now that you mention it, I'm really tempted. When the time comes, we'll observe the situation carefully. If there's a chance, we'll give it a shot. When Night Sorrow heard Xiong Chui's words, he pondered for a moment and thought of a way to pull a tooth out of the tiger's mouth. Anyway, the realm of the gods was currently the enemy of the entire world. He was not afraid of offending anyone. When the people of the realm of the gods woke up from their cultivation, it would be very close to the opportunity. At this time, Night Sorrow told them about snatching the food from the tiger's mouth. Hearing Night Sorrow's suggestion, the people of the realm of the gods frowned. Although they were tempted, they felt that if they attacked the earthly sovereigns, they might be killed. Here's what I'm thinking. I'll use the resources in the 3,000 grotto heavens to advance to the level of a sovereign. Then, I'll go after the good stuff in the grotto heavens. Night Sorrow said, then continued, but this matter requires everyone's cooperation. Because of the importance of war, I have to advance to the level of a sovereign in the shortest time possible. I need everyone to fight for resources for me. That's not a problem. Helping Brother Yi to advance into the supremacy stage, wasn't this something that we've already agreed on long ago? When he heard Night Sorrow's words, Jin Xian's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. The other cultivators of the realm of the gods were also filled with fighting spirit. However, before the opportunity came, another group of cultivators arrived in the grotto heavens controlled by Jing Yun. These people were from the Azure territory, and the leader was Lan Xian from the Azure territory. After arriving in the grotto heavens, Yuan Fengxue wanted to greet Lan Xian. But at this time, Lan Xian sneered and said, "I didn't expect to meet you here." Chapter 3056. Blue Heart's tone was provocative, and there was a mocking smile on her face. Her attitude was very playful, not like friends greeting each other, but more like enemies meeting. When Blue Heart had cooperated with the people of the god world, they had treated her well and allowed her to advance. That was until Night Sorrow had a conflict with Fairy Yu Yan and the others of the Moon Shadow territory in the square where the finals were held. Blue Heart had parted ways with Night Sorrow and the others in front of everyone. The people of the god world were very unhappy with such an attitude. Yuan Fengxue, who had wanted to greet her amiably, raised his eyebrows and sneered, "Blue Heart. Blue Heart. Back then, my territory in the god realm took good care of you during the battle for Providence. Is this your attitude when you meet us? Haha. I'm a sovereign. Do I need to be nice when I meet you ants of the sovereign realm?" Blue Heart laughed out loud after she finished speaking. Some of the supreme beings standing behind him started laughing too. Their laughter was very loud and ear-piercing. The people of the god world glanced around. Including Blue Heart, there were a total of 12 sovereigns in the Azure territory. There was even a half-step earthly sovereign among them. Blue Heart, you're really an ingrate. You become a sovereign, and you even came with a group of sovereigns. Do you think you're so great? Master Wan Jian glanced sideways at Blue Heart. I've become a sovereign. I'm not the same kind of person as you. Blue Heart laughed disdainfully when she heard Master Wan Jian's words. She looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Night Sorrow. You were the champion of the Battle of Providence that day. Now, you can hand over the champion's reward and the replica of the Eternal Divine Tower. If I remember correctly, that replica should be an earthly sovereign artifact. A sovereign ant like you can't protect it." In her opinion, she had more than 10 sovereigns on her side, while the people of the god world had participated in the Battle of Providence. There was no sovereign at all. The difference in strength between the two sides was like heaven and earth. Dominator rank ants? After Blue Heart finished speaking, Night Sorrow revealed a trace of a cold smile on his face. Since the ruler is an ant. Why don't you, a supreme rank expert, fight with a dominator rank ant like me? If you win, I'll give you everything you want. Haha. Knight Sorrow, I know that you are a person with great luck, and you have the ability to fight across realms. But don't you think it's ridiculous for you to say something like that at this time and place? Lon Xian sneered and pointed behind her. Today, there are so many Supremes in the Azure territory. They're here to do something big. I don't have time to argue with you. Hand it over immediately. Otherwise, all of you will die. You're really a heartless woman. Since that's the case, we have nothing more to say. Let's see who's better. Knight Sorrow took out the golden heavenly halberd and held it horizontally. Infuriated, he transmitted his voice to the others in the divine world. Attack. There's no need to be merciful when dealing with such people. Of course, we won't be merciful to her. The myriad sword sex people immediately replied to Knight Sorrow. The people of Azure territory looked down on them with disdain. They didn't even put them in their eyes. In fact, they didn't put them in their eyes either. After all, they had defeated the Green Cloud territory and obtained their sacred art. Compared to Azure Sky territory's lineup, Azure territory's lineup could only be described with one word: weak. However, the people of Azure territory obviously didn't think so. Seeing that Knight Sorrow had the attitude to fight, Azure territory's leader, Lan Su, raised his eyebrows in disdain and sneered. Junior. You still want to fight with us? Who gave you the courage? Kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistakes. Otherwise, you won't be able to die even if you want to. We want to die? Of course, it's impossible. Because the ones who will die are you. Yi Shang bellowed and unleashed an immortal mystical gold slash at Lan Su. He was not going to use this move after he had merged the Qingxian Godly Spear technique, or rather, the Qingxian Godly Spear. However, he felt that he didn't need to use his strongest technique against Lan Su. Oh. Ignorant junior, you dare to attack me? It seems like you really don't know what a half-earthly sovereign is. As Azure Territory's #1 expert, Lan Su's heart had always been filled with flattery. His self-confidence was bursting. Seeing that Knight Sorrow was about to attack, Lan Su waved his hand casually, wanting to slap Knight Sorrow to death. The person who wanted to slap me to death last time has already been slapped to death by me. It seems like you want to repeat the same mistake. Lan Su was still so arrogant in the battle, and Knight Sorrow was completely enraged. At the same time that he attacked with the mysterious immortal golden slash, he suddenly formed a divine vitality trap array and trapped Lan Su within it. Then, he suddenly attacked with the slash. Boom! Lan Su, who didn't use his full strength, didn't expect Knight Sorrow to be able to unleash an attack that wasn't inferior to his own. Due to his carelessness, he was immediately sent flying and crashed heavily into the hard stone wall of the small hollow. Your so-called half-earthly sovereign is just a so-so. You can't even take one hit. Knight Sorrow sent Lan Su flying, which shocked everyone in Azure territory, especially Lon Xian, who looked as if she had seen a ghost. She knew Lan Su's strength very well. She muttered, "This is impossible. How is this possible? How many years has it been, and he has already reached this level?" Under Azure territory's full nurturing, Lon Xian had quickly advanced to the earthly sovereign level, which made her extremely proud. However, when she saw Yi Shan's battle prowess, the pride in her heart was instantly shattered. Originally, she thought that she was already ranked first among those who had participated in the Battle of Providence. Hee hee. There are many things that you think are impossible. Come, let's fight. At this time, Jin Xian suddenly appeared in front of Lon Xian, ready to fight. You? Do you think you can humiliate me? Seeing Jin Xian in front of her, Lon Xian was immediately enraged. When she came into contact with the people in the realm of the gods, she knew that Jin Xian was the weakest in the realm of the gods. Now, they had actually sent the weakest one to fight her. Wasn't this a slap in the face? But that's fine too. I'll kill you one by one. Let's see if you have Night Sorrow's ability. Lan Xian shouted, and then the battle intent in her body completely exploded as she began to fight Jin Xian. Seeing that Jin Xian and Lan Xian were fighting, Night Sorrow reminded him, Jin Xian, use more of your merged superpowers. You don't have an advantage in terms of cultivation level, but your understanding of superpowers is definitely not something that she can compare to. Brother Yi, don't worry. I won't lose this battle. Jin Xian replied to Night Sorrow, and then used his newly merged superpower on Lan Xian. Clan M. Chapter 3057. Jin Xian's attack was a combination of the Divine Finger, the Green Cloud Thousand Transformations art, and the Golden Crow's bloodline talent. He had yet to name it. With this attack, tens of thousands of rays of golden light appeared in the air. These rays of golden light were Jin Xian's unique golden flames. These golden flames contained sharp sword rays that the Golden Crow's flames did not have before. These sword rays came from the Divine Finger. Furthermore, these sword rays had been strengthened by the Green Cloud Thousand Transformations art, so they were extremely tough. Facing this attack, Blue Heart was originally filled with arrogance. However, after choosing to face it head-on, she immediately realized that she was wrong. She, who had already become a supreme being, took this attack head-on, and her body was immediately pierced by the sword rays. If it wasn't for her good luck that her dantian wasn't hit, she would have been crippled immediately. How is this possible? Isn't he the weakest in the realm of the gods? How did he become so strong? Blue Heart looked at Jin Xian in disbelief. She had become so pathetic in an instant. Upon closer inspection, she realized that Jin Xian's aura was not any weaker than hers. Although he was only half a step away from becoming a supreme being. What the hell is going on? Blue Heart screamed in her heart. She could not understand how Jin Xian could become so strong in such a short time. What? Can't believe what is happening. You will soon understand that a heavenly dragon is not the same as an ant. We are completely different. After Jin Xian severely injured Blue Heart, he became even more confident and continued to attack Blue Heart. While Blue Heart was fighting Jin Xian, she realized that the other people in the Azure territory were also being suppressed. Even the strongest person in their territory, Lan Su, was completely suppressed by Night Sorrow. He could not fight back at all. If he had been hit once, it might have been due to luck. However, if he was continuously suppressed, it was a reflection of his strength. How, seeing that everyone in Azure territory was being suppressed, Blue Heart had a look of disbelief on her face as her brows furrowed. She wanted to say something, but her mind was blank. She could not say anything. She knew that if she had not been mocked, the people in the realm of the gods would not have attacked her. However, it was too late now. If she did not think of a solution, everyone in the Azure territory would be killed. This made Blue Heart feel despair. Blue Heart was being suppressed by Jin Xian and didn't know what to do. The first person in Azure territory, Lan Su, had completely collapsed. Under Night Sorrow's suppression, he shouted, "Stop, all of you stop. Everything that happened today was a misunderstanding." Misunderstanding? You killed all of us. Is this a misunderstanding? Night Sorrow replied coldly as he waved the golden heavenly halberd in his hand. In today's battle, he did not display his strongest Qingxian godly spear technique, but he still easily suppressed his opponent. Night Sorrow was quite satisfied with this result. At this time, he glanced at the people in the divine world and found that their eyes were locked on Lan Su's face. He immediately understood what these people were thinking. They wanted the Azure territory's divine ability. At this moment, Master 10,000 Swords transmitted his voice, "Hee. Divine abilities were good stuff. If they hand over the Azure territory's divine ability, it's not impossible for us to let them go. Don't worry, I know what to do." When it comes to divine abilities, no one would complain about having too many of them. Night Sorrow replied with a smile. But at this time, Lan Su sighed and said, "Stop fighting. Stop fighting. If you continue to fight, I'll die. Our Azure territory offended our friends from the divine world. This is our fault. We're willing to compensate." "Oh? What are you willing to compensate?" Night Sorrow put away the golden heavenly halberd and asked coldly. In the small grotto heaven, the other party would not be able to escape. He did not have to worry about that at all. "We're willing to pay 1,000,000 divine crystals. And a half-earthly sovereign divine artifact. If you want a woman, we can give you Blue Heart. Blue Heart is the first beauty in Azure territory." Lan Su continued to speak as he pondered. He knew that if Night Sorrow stopped, it meant that they had a chance to live. "Overlord." Hearing Lan Su's words, Blue Heart's expression changed immediately. She did not expect the Overlord to use her as a bargaining chip immediately. At this time, before Night Sorrow could say anything, Wan Jianzong said with disdain, "Our divine world territory does not need trash as compensation." It was obvious that he did not care about Blue Heart and the half-earthly sovereign divine artifact. After all, compared to divine abilities, they were indeed trash. Lan Xian's expression had already changed, but when she heard the 10,000 sword sex words, she was so angry that her face darkened. She had never been treated like this in her life. "What about you? We don't want you. Your bargaining chip is not sincere at all. Prepare to die. You brought all of this upon yourselves." Wan Jianzong said with disdain. When they saw an old friend, they had a good impression of her. They did not expect Blue Heart, who had become a sovereign, to be so arrogant. This kind of feeling made him very uncomfortable. "Don't fight. Everything can be discussed. Tell us what you want. As long as we can do it, we'll consider it." Seeing that the people from the divine world territory were about to attack again, Lan Su scolded Blue Heart and told her to shut up. Hearing this, Wan Jianzong looked at Night Sorrow, and Night Sorrow nodded at him. Wan Jianzong immediately understood and said, "Give us the divine ability of the Azure territory. We can exchange it for your lives. Otherwise, your souls will be destroyed." "What? You want the divine ability of the Azure territory? Overlord, you can't give it to us. We'd rather die than be the sinners of the territory." After Wan Jianzong finished speaking, one of the supremes of the Azure territory shouted. The Overlord of the Azure territory, Lan Su, was silent. He was in a fierce battle in his heart. "Overlord. Overlord, you can't agree to this. We can't let the divine ability leak out. It's the capital of the Azure territory in the eternal sovereign world." Seeing that Lan Su was silent and struggling in his heart, even Blue Heart, who was unhappy with him, tried to persuade him. The people from the divine world territory did not speak, giving him enough time to think. After about 30 breaths, Night Sorrow said coldly, "I won't say anything else. Make your choice." Lan Su, who was silent, was about to speak when he heard Night Sorrow's words, but he stopped. He looked around and saw Blue Heart and the others. Then, he looked at Night Sorrow and said, "I can teach you the divine ability. But I have a request. That is, you can only let me go. Kill everyone else." Clan M, you're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.